Okie
All right, here we go. So, welcome everyone to our reading of the third and possibly final ever Naked Gun movie, Naked Gun 33 and a third, the final insult. We have a fabulous cast here tonight. A lot of them returning from previous installments. To my left, we have Kate, of course, doing the scene description, and she's also going to be playing Muriel Dillon now for us, played by the great Kathleen Freeman in the movie. We have, of course, Anne returning as Jane Spencer, Priscilla Presley. We have Paul joining us as Rocco Dillon, which is a very cool name, the bad guy in this movie. We have, of course, Logan returning as Captain Ed Hawken, the great George Kennedy in the movies. We have Travis returning as Nordberg, played by the not so great O.J. Simpson in the movies. And we'll all be playing a lot of other parts as well, including Travis. And then, of course, we have Nicole as Tanya Peters, played by the late great Anna Nicole Smith in the film. I'll be playing Frank Drebin again, played by the great Leslie Nielsen, also the late Leslie Nielsen from the films. All right, so whenever you're ready, Kate, let's get started here.
All right. The Naked Gun 33 and a third. The final insult. Interior train station day. A long flight of stairs. The place is nearly empty. Angle bottom of the stairs, hot dog stand. A man in a paper hat peers up from his hot dog wagon. It's Norberg, a police squad, obviously undercover. He checks inside his windbreaker, pats his revolver. He nods at someone at the top of the stairs. Angle top of the stairs. A guy in a porter's uniform sits on a rack of luggage, eating his lunch. It's Ed Hawken. He bends down, pulls up his pant leg, revealing a gun in the ankle holster. Angle, bottom of the stairs. A man sits reading a newspaper. The headline reads, Dyslexia for Cure Found. The paper is lowered, revealing Frank. His eyes dart nervously around, scanning the place. He glances from the upstairs door to the big clock on the wall, then back to the door. Something off screen catches his eye. Angle, Frank's point of view. A woman with a baby carriage starts to ascend the stairs, working the carriage gently up, step by step. Back to Frank, eyes on the woman. He'd like to help her, but there's a job to be done.
Train 35 from Chicago will be arriving on platform 6 at 12 p.m.
Frank looks back up at the clock. It clicks to 3 minutes to 12. Frank's point of view, he looks at the door, then back at the woman. She's working awfully hard, dragging that baby carriage up those steps. Resume Frank. He has to do something. He rushes towards the woman, beginning hauling the baby carriage up the stairs. He's about halfway when he spots something off screen. On his point of view, another mother with two baby carriages begins to ascend the stairs. Angle on Frank, he looks helplessly at Norberg. Angle on Norberg, he understands Frank's silent plea. He rushes to the aid of the mother with the two carriages. Angle on Frank pulling the baby carriage up the stairs, getting closer to the top. He gets a horrified look on his face. From Frank's POV, a woman at the top of the stairs is coming down with a baby carriage. Frank looks helplessly at Ed. Angle on Ed, he hurries over to assist the new woman with her baby carriage. Yes, now all three mothers of police squad are struggling with the baby carriage. Ed's about to start easing it down the steps, but stops abruptly when he sees Angle on top of the stairs. Four goons, packing heat, approach, take up positions. Mr. Big enters behind them. Angle on Frank, almost to the top of the stairs, shields his face as he eyeballs Mr. Big and his goons. Angle on Mr. Big, takes a look around, then he and his goons start down the stairs. Angle on Frank. He comes abreast of Mr. Big on the stairs. Mr. Big looks over. He recognizes Frank. From this point on, everything goes into slow motion. The goons go for their guns, start blasting away. Frank yanks out his pistol, accidentally lets go of the baby carriage, fires back at the goons. Angle on the baby carriage as it bounces down the stairs. Angle on the woman who mouths the words, "My baby!" Angle on Ed. He lets go of his carriage, rolls over the top stair, and the mother mouths the words, "My baby!" Ed struggling to extract his gun from his ankle holster. Insert Ed's ankle. The gun is all tangled up in his hosiery garter. Angle on the goons blasting away. Angle on Norberg. He starts firing and realizes he's let go of both baby carriages. He runs out of frame chasing them. Right behind Norberg, a runaway lawnmower careens through the frame, followed by a Japanese gardener who throws up his hands and mouths the words, "My lawnmower!" Angle on Frank, guns blazing, diving, fires at the goons. Angle on the goons. One is hit, rolls down the stairs. The other is hit. He rolls up the stairs. Angle on Frank. His eyes spot something on the ground. A surprised look crosses his face. Still firing, he bends down and picks up the object up. It's a bright, shiny quarter. What luck! Happily, Frank pockets the coin, his gun still blazing away. Angle on Ed. Still struggling to free his gun from his sock, he sits down on the top stair and really goes at it. Angle on Frank, firing away.
Hey, look! It's the president!
Another angle. It's Bill Clinton coming down the stairs with his Secret Service entourage. Resume Frank, surprised to see the president.
And the Pope!
Angle on His Holiness. He's coming down the stairs with his security people. Angle on the fanatic. His body is rigged with grenades and dynamite suddenly comes out of nowhere, rushing towards the president and the Pope.
Yeah.
Angle on Frank. He can't believe this is happening. He whips his gun up and shoots the... I can't read it. George, what does it say?
Hezbollah, I think.
Okay, sure, that. Resume.
Yeah.
Clothesline by Frank's bullet drops like a rock. Resume on Frank.
Oh my God! Look! It's disgruntled postal workers!
Frank turns to see. Angle at the top of the stairs. It's a human wave attack of postal workers, all in uniform with an automatic weapons. Some with mail sacks. They start spraying the place with automatic gunfire. Another angle, Frank grabs the impressive-looking gun from off the stairs, swings it around, suddenly looks horrified at something off-screen. Angle on those baby carriages. All 4 baby carriages reach the bottom of the stairs at the same time. They crash into benches and the babies go flying. Resume Frank, who's torn between rescuing the babies and his police work. He makes a decision and lets out a banshee scream, opens fire on the postal workers, mowing them down left and right. In the background, we see Norberg making dramatic catches, snagging the airborne babies as they fall from the sky. Angle on the postal workers, falling in clumps, mail sacks spilling over the stairs, but more arriving. It's an endless supply. Resume on Frank. He's blasting away at the onslaught of postal workers. In the background, Norberg makes over-the-shoulder catch of the last baby. He does a shuffle, a hip swivel. Duck walks around with his baby held high. He's about to spike the infant, but its mother stops him just in time. Back on Frank, suddenly his gun clicks. He has no bullets left, and postal workers keep coming. A worried look on his face, Frank tries desperately to fire his empty gun. Click, click, click. Real time. Angle on Frank's point of view, the postal worker points a gun point blank at Frank, menacing. He's about to pull the trigger when Frank sits up in bed, screaming. Interior Frank's bedroom, night. Frank's in bed, his eyes still wide with horror. It was all a bad dream. Jane wakes up, puts her arm around his trembling shoulders.
Frank? Frank, are you all right?
I'm soaking wet.
I'll get the talcum powder.
No, it's not that. I had a nightmare. Crime was everywhere. I couldn't stop it.
It was just a dream. You've been retired for 6 months now.
Right. Retired.
Now go to sleep, honey.
No, I can't. I'm wide awake.
I know how to relax you.
I don't feel like being read to.
I wasn't thinking about reading. I thought we could.
Not tonight. I have a headache.
Again? Just go to sleep, Frank.
Okay, let me get comfortable.
He picks up the bed control, adjusts their Craftmatic bed. It snaps up like a clam on them, then suddenly springs back the other way, throwing them on into uncontrolled back arches. Frank quickly hits another button. The bed shoots up, catapults Frank and Jane out through the open window. The Naked Gun theme song kicks in strong. Credits begin. Close up on flashing red police light. Heading down a city street, takes a right, now heading straight for the pack of marathon runners. They scatter, several are hit and lifted up over the car. At a naval yard, now taking off from a carrier. At a sports arena, heading up a ramp, through a hoop of fire, over a row of buses. Driving through a rap concert, ramming into players at a hockey game, scoring the winning goal. In the ocean, shooting a curl. City street, the red light pulls up to a bunch of cops, getting ready to beat on a motorist. Suddenly, out of nowhere, citizens with camcorders show up. The cops instantly act nonchalant, whistling casually, pretending they're drawn their batons to practice their golf swing, perfect their baseball swing, or work on their flying casting. Theme song and credits end. Exterior, Statesville Prison, day. A formidable fortress. Interior prison visiting room. The guard escorts in Muriel Dillon, clipping along in her late 60s. She's one tough old chick. On their walk, we see visitors talking to cons. Then, a visitor is doing his banking through a bank teller's window. A hockey player in the penalty box. A dog visiting a dog. An aquarium with a black and white striped fish. Muriel passes one last partition, turns to face Rocco Dillon. Music sting, lit dramatically, tough. His face is set in resolve. He's the kind of guy who in another life would have been an astronaut, but the kind that would have bailed out of his spaceship. Muriel beams a big smile at Rocco as she sits across from him. How's my little boy? You getting along okay, sweetie?
About as well as a heterosexual can in prison.
Muriel's quizzical. She doesn't quite understand.
Great, Ma. Just great. Ma, how's Tanya?
Tanya's the same. Milky, creamy skin, pouting red lips, firm and exquisite buttocks, ample breasts, earlobes you'd just die to stick your tongue into, and Rocco's getting a little aroused.
Ma, please. I've been in here almost a year. I'm gonna get guy cramps if you keep this up.
Sorry, Tanya's fine. You should see her on her new Stairmaster.
Don't let anyone come near her. If they do, I'll rip their heart out with my teeth.
That's Mommy's little boy. There's a pause.
So, Ma, what happened on our last job? I saw on the news City Hall's still standing.
It was Lou. He couldn't see the timer on the bomb, so he asked a security guard for help. Rocco bites his knuckles again.
Did you take care of him, Ma?
Strangled him with my own hands. Ruined my nail polish. It's just a bad manicure that morning.
That's my Ma.
Rocco, there's someone here to see you. She motions off screen. Rocco's point of view. Smarmy international terrorist broker approaches. Sits next to Muriel.
Patchmere?
My people are very.
They're always upset. They're Arab terrorists.
Ma, please.
And I'm just gonna pause it just for a sec. Go for it.
Foremost terror is the part. Okay.
Go for it.
You're supposed to be the foremost terrorist bomber in the world. Train stations, department stores, government buildings.
The devastation in South Florida.
That was Hurricane Andrew.
That's what they told the public.
No matter, we want to embarrass the United States. Now you've made the police look like international heroes.
I told you a first-class job cost $5 million. Now, if you step up to the price, I got a target that'll make City Hall look like chicken feed.
Rocco writes something on a piece of paper, holds it up to the glass, out of the camera's view. Patchmere is visibly impressed.
That's a pretty big target, but why should I think anything will be different?
Because $5 million buys me. I'm going to be there myself. I'm breaking out of here.
Oh, honey, that's wonderful. I'll wash all your guns and bullets and Lysol your holsters. Everything will be nice and fresh for you when you get out.
All right, I'll arrange the payment, but fail this time, Mr. Dillon, and my people won't be forgiving.
Angle on Rocco, his smug smile.
Fail? Who's going to stop me?
Interior supermarket. Music up, morning train. Frank tries to separate a line of shopping carts. It's an endless struggle. The store manager goes by and greets him.
Hello.
I'm
I'm so sorry. I was like
all good.
scrolling.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I next? My screen just did something stupid. me 1 second. Good morning, Frank.
Oh, good morning,
Remember,
Tom.
it's double coupon day today.
Got him right
oh,
here.
by the way, Cornish game hens are $2.29 a pound.
Store manager exits. Angle on Frank, who flips down a welding mask, goes to the cart with a blowtorch. Angle on the fruit and vegetable aisle. Frank's picking up melons, putting them to his ear, tapping them, listening. He repeats the process. Then he accidentally grabs a woman's breast, taps it. Suddenly he realizes what he's done. Too late. Whap! Frank slapped. Another angle. Frank yanks a plastic bag off the roll. The entire roll, hundreds of them, start to unravel. Frank doesn't notice. He walks away. Bags continue to unwind in the background, and Frank's absorbed in trying to find the opening of his bag. I feel like this is all of us, though. He's rolling his fingers over the first one and then the other, and finally he finds it. Drops a potato in the bag. It falls out the bottom. Another angle. Frank puts a roll of paper towels into his basket. There's a small baby in his cart. Frank gives a puzzled look and realizes his error too late. A mother, thinking Frank is a kidnapper, rushes up.
Hey!
She grabs the cart away from Frank and exits. Frank looks after her. Suddenly, his roll of paper towels flies back into frame and smacks Frank in the head. Angle on the checkout counter. Frank's in a long line. He sees a checker opening the next register. He pushes his cart over. He never gets there. From out of nowhere, a dozen people with loaded carts rush to the best to beat him in line. Frank ends up where he was before. He looks, angle on the checkout counter, where he came from. Checker is whizzing through the line. Angle on Frank. He heads back to the other counter. He's first in line, but the counter is just being closed. Frank turns, heads back to the other counter again. His jaw drops as he sees the line he was just in is now running the length of the store. Another angle. He runs up to a woman in line, a thug runs up to a woman in line, tries to snatch her purse. A tug of war ensues.
My purse! Someone help!
Frank instinctively reaches for his police revolver, which isn't there. He stops and looks up, remembering. Flashback, interior police squad. We see a buffet lunch laid out. We read banners. Goodbye, Frank. Have a good retirement. We love you. 3,000 dead bad guys. 432 wounded. Frank is surrounded by Ed, Norberg, and all the police squatters, singing the final strains of For He's a Jolly Good Fellow. Applause all around.
Well, we've shot a lot of people together. It's been great, but today I retire. If I do any shooting now, it will have to be in the confines of my own home. Hopefully it will be an intruder and not an in-law like at my bachelor party. Well, Ed, I officially turn over my badge and my gun. Jane and I would like to keep the handcuffs, souvenir.
Ed is reduced to tears as he takes the gun and badge. Hugs Frank.
Cheer up, Ed. This is not goodbye. It's just I won't ever see you again.
Oh, Frank.
Resume Frank. The thug is running out the door with the purse. He plows into another shopper and sends him reeling. The store manager runs up to Frank.
Lieutenant Drebin! Frank, didn't you see that?
Frank snaps out of his stupor, looks to where the store manager's pointing.
Yes, kitty litter. 2 bags for $1. Thank you.
Frank walks off towards the huge kitty litter display, leaving the store manager dumbfounded. Exterior city courthouse, an impressive structure, tight on Jane.
Let one work. The alimony had been set by the court. Isn't that right, Mr. Clayton?
Looks up, angle man on the witness chair.
Well, yes, but it's a simple misunderstanding. You see, when my attorney told me that
Resume Jane. She rises from her seat, widen to reveal the interior courtroom. Jane is in a high-profile, big-time attorney. She's dressed in a business suit. She steps around her table, passes behind her client, Louise, who looks confident in Jane's ability to win this case for her. Jane crosses towards the witness stand, passes the gallery to where onlookers listen intently. A woman holds a baby on her lap.
But not once have you paid the alimony to my client in the past 2 years, repeatedly defying the court order. Isn't that right, Mr. Clayton?
Angle on the female bailiff, an infant carrier on her back. We see Jane responding to the sight of mother and baby throughout. She really wants a child.
I lost her address. She moved twice. I couldn't keep up.
Angle on Jane. She's walking by the jury and notices some of the women holding babies.
Don't lie to me, Mr. Clayton. You're under oath. Do you know what the penalty for perjury is? Now I'll ask you again.
Objection!
Angle on the defense attorney. She's breastfeeding.
Your Honor, I. Ow. Ow. Jeez. Ow.
She removes the baby from her breast.
Counsel is leading the witness.
Sustained.
Off screen, there's the sound of a gavel banging. Angle on the bench. The pounding is from the judge's 4-year-old who's playing with the gavel.
Sweetie, Mommy said no pounding when she's in session. Please read the prosecution's last statement to the court.
Angle on the stenographer. Reads while burping her baby.
Don't lie to me, Mr. Clayton. You're under oath.
The baby burps up a big one.
That's the boy. Yeah. Do you know the penalty for perjury? That's all I have, Your Honor.
Baby spits up. She uses the page she's reading to wipe the baby's chin. Angle on the judge.
You may continue, Ms. Spencer Drebin.
Prosecution rests, Your Honor.
Defense attorney, Ms. Davis Jacob Steiner Laszlo.
Angle on the defense attorney. She's changing the diaper of her baby on her table.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
She puts the dirty diaper in her briefcase and snaps it shut.
Court will recess until the morning feeding.
She pounds her gavel. Unbeknownst to her, it's a baby's plastic hammer, and it makes a squeak. Angle on Jane. At her table, putting away papers, she stares at the moms and their kids. She feels a void in her life, and Louise smiles at her. We're gonna win this. I can feel it. Jane's only half listening.
Yes.
I married the wrong man.
I never thought that was possible.
I beg your pardon?
No, nothing. Louise, there's no such thing as the wrong man. You just have to work at it.
Exterior office door. A plaque on the door reads Dr. S. Eidenrath, family therapist. Interior therapist office, same time. The doctor sits behind his desk reading patient's folder. Jane and Frank sit across from him.
Now, you two have been married for 6 months?
Yes, we really appreciate you seeing us, Doctor. You were highly recommended by our last therapist.
Yeah, so sorry to hear about his suicide. I feel it's important for couples to get off on the right foot and not get caught up in blame. Now, which one of you is impotent?
That would be him.
Oh, yes, of course.
Well, why don't you ask who's frigid?
That would be him also.
Oh.
Well, how would you know? You're never home.
He resents the fact that I'm working woman. In fact, he has no idea what a woman wants or needs. You're so insensitive, Frank.
This isn't that toilet seat thing again, is it?
Babies, Frank. I want to have a baby, but every time we start to make love, you get a headache.
I'm not a piece of meat, Jane. I'm trying. I've got ointments, creams, lotions, books, things that vibrate.
Frank.
Maybe it's your fault.
Have you tried sexy lingerie, some lacy underwear, a black teddy?
I've tried wearing them all. Nothing works.
Why don't you want to have a child?
I tried to adopt that 18-year-old Korean girl, didn't I?
Jane, Frank, here's what I suggest. Make tonight a special night. Dinner, wine, romantic music. Put on the 24-hour Johnny Mathis station. Just be Jane and Frank. Lovers.
We haven't had a night like that for a long time.
Not together.
Frank?
I'm sorry if I seem so uncaring. I'm just frightened. A baby is a big responsibility, like being in charge of sanitation at a Haitian jail.
Let's make tonight really special. Oh, Frank, I just love you so much.
My little lover, Sparrow.
My puppy wuppy wuffer.
My little love biscuit.
My little snooky wookums.
Little lady cheese puffy.
Mr. Drebin, please.
Oh, sorry.
I'm diabetic. I think you should go now.
Interior Frank's house, living room. Later that same day, Frank, wearing an apron with a mountain of laundry nearby, is absorbed in a TV soap opera as he irons. Angle on the TV. Jason lies in his hospital bed. Bobby holds his hand.
I never thought we'd end this way.
How did you think we'd end?
I don't know. Some other way.
Jason, please.
Please, Bobby. I've been hurt before.
Angle on Frank. He's wrapped up in this scene on TV.
We have to face this thing together.
A tear trickles down Frank's eye. It hits the iron and sizzles. Off screen, the doorbell rings, and Frank turns down the set and answers the door. Angle on the door, it's Ed and Norberg.
Ah, Ed, Norberg, it's been a long time.
Hey, Frank.
It's good to see you.
You look terrific.
Thanks, Ed. I'm taking a step class, and the little woman got me a thigh master for Christmas. Oh, look at me. Where are my manners? Come in, come in.
Another angle, Frank leads them to the living room.
Excuse the mess. It's my ironing day. Sit, sit, sit.
He ushers them to the couch, and all the furniture is covered in plastic.
Great.
He and Norberg sit. The crinkling is deafening. Both friends are noticing a change in Frank. Frank gestures to a plate of cupcakes, nearby steaming pot of coffee.
I just frosted some cupcakes. Would you care for one?
Not just now, Frank. We've been having a problem with a terrorist threat. Police squad is certain that...
I'd like a cupcake, and that coffee smells great.
Fresh this morning. I grind my own beans.
Frank pours coffee and gives each guest a cupcake. Norberg is looking at the TV.
Two lives lived as one. What's happening?
Jason is dying. Bobby may have to take the job in her father's department store after all.
Jason's dying. Poor Bobby.
I know, she's a wreck. Can you blame her, though?
Frank, look, the reason we're here is we need your help with something.
Frank is hovering over Ed, staring at him, hopeful. Ed looks down at the cupcake in his hand and realizes Frank wants his opinion on it. He takes a bite.
Oh, I hoped you'd like them. I made them from scratch. Now let me get off my feet for a second.
Frank sits and kicks off his fluffy slippers.
Frank, we have a lead on a suspect at the City Hall bombing attempt. Take a look.
This picture was taken by a news photographer.
Insert picture. A long shot of a woman on the steps of City Hall talking to a security guard.
We think this woman was used as a diversion.
We had it blown up.
Norberg hands Frank another photo. Insert photo. A grainy close-up of the woman's chest from neck to waist. A couple of buttons on her blouse are undone, revealing ample cleavage.
They look familiar.
No, Frank, the pin. She's a nurse.
Oh, right. Can I keep this?
We traced her to the Carson Clinic in Myrtlewood. Her name's Tanya Peters.
Tanya Peters.
Well, you know her?
Don't you remember? It was sometime in the 1970s, the big disco shootout.
Shimmer Dissolve 2, Interior Disco, 1970s. Murder scene. A disco tune, the infamous Do the Hustle, plays through the discotheque speaker system. Police are going about their business. Frank enters, dressed in 1970s style, flared pants, wide tie, wide collar, floral color, shoulder-length hair, sideburns. He looks around. Angle on Tanya Peters, the 70s version. Very young and very luscious, wearing hip-hugger bell-bottoms and tie-dye halter tops. She makes big eyes at Frank. Frank would like to go flirt, but there's a job to be done. He crosses over to
Ed, what's happening, my man?
Ed's hip in the Sammy Davis Jr. Jacket look with love beads, platform shoes, rings on almost every finger, and a head full of curly Mr. Brady of the Brady Bunch hair. Ed and Frank do an elaborate soul handshake.
Frank, we missed you last night at the fondue party.
I couldn't make it. I went to see the Village People. They were a stone soul gas, man.
Far out. I can dig it.
So what do we have here?
A dead disco dancer.
Angle on the body on the floor. Frank kneels, pulls back the sheet. It's John Travolta look-alike, dressed in the white Saturday Night Fever outfit.
Bummer. What a mind bender.
Frank stands up.
We think it was some sort of love triangle. This is the suspect's girlfriend, Tanya Peters.
Frank turns, comes face to face with Tanya. He takes out a pack of cigarettes and offers her one.
Cigarette?
Yes, I know.
Well, we'll need a statement from you down at the station. Nordberg.
Coming, Lieutenant.
Angle on Nordberg, struggling to get through the door. He's Jimi Hendrix, funky hip, vests, feathers, headband, platform shoes with a big afro. Truly the largest in history. Huge. Whoa, Big time huge. It's like he's wearing a car wash brush on his head. After a couple of tries, Nordberg jams himself through the door. Shimmers is all back to Frank's house.
Do remember, you were one of the first test cases from minoxidil, weren't you?
Well, I'm glad I could be of some help. Now, if you don't mind, I was just about to put a rump of lamb in the oven.
Frank, we need to ask you a favor.
It's not a big enough rump roast, Nordberg.
No, not that, Frank. We need you to go undercover today at the clinic.
Whoa, wait a minute. I've given up police work. No, you're whistling up the wrong neck of the woods, Ed.
I wouldn't ask, Frank, but we're in a bind.
What about those two new guys, Hedges and O'Malley?
They're in Hawaii. Together.
Look, I really can't. Jane and I have this very special evening planned.
It'd only take a couple of hours. You'll be home in plenty of time to make dinner.
I don't know. I'd have to make pork chops.
Frank, think of all the crime out there. Nobody's safe. You've been protecting Jane and all the Janes of the world. Besides, you haven't shot anyone for 6 months.
That's true. Funny how you miss the little things. All right, I'll do it. It might be good to feel that cold, hard steel against my thigh again. The thrill of the chase, to be a man. I can be ready in 10 minutes. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some sweaters soaking in the tub.
Tight on Frank, he's driving.
Later that day, I set out for the Carlson Clinic. In any police undercover operation, it's important.
Frank slams on the brakes, suddenly panicked.
Did I turn off the iron?
He ponders a moment, then continues driving.
It's important to have a foolproof disguise, and this operation was no different.
Exterior clinic, later that same day. A big sign in front of the sprawling building tells us this is the Carlson Clinic. Frank pulls up, hits a parking meter, coins fly all around, bounce on his hood. Exterior Frank's car. He steps out.
I had no idea if Tanya would still recognize me, but I slipped on a pair of fake glasses just in case.
As he walks, he puts his arm in a fake sling, places a pair of glasses on his face. Interior clinic moments later, he enters, heads for the reception desk. He approaches the nurse on duty.
Yes, I'd like to see a doctor, please.
Sign in here. Do you have an appointment, mister?
Amundsen, and no, I don't.
She indicates a take a number machine, and Frank doesn't see it. Take a number.
6.
What?
Is 6 taken? Does it have to be between 1 and 10?
The nurse reaches over, rips a number out the dispenser, and hands it to Frank. It's number 17. You'll be called. Frank sits down, picks up a magazine, pages through Weekly World News. Headlines read, Clinton hosts JFK at Camp David.
Mr. Edmondson?
Frank looks up. Recognition. It's that gorgeous Tanya Peters.
Sir, we just had a cancellation. We can take you now. Dr. Kolzak?
Dr. Kolzak, a middle-aged woman, approaches and motions to Frank.
This way.
Frank follows her off. Tanya watches after them with maybe he looks familiar expression. As they disappear, we see the sign Carlson Sperm Bank and Fertility Clinic. Another angle, Frank and Dr. Kolzak walk along. She glances at her files as they go.
When you first noticed the problem?
In the backyard with my uncle.
In the backyard with your uncle?
Yes. When he comes over to visit, we like to go in the backyard and throw it around for a while.
Dr. Kolzak stops. She's leery of this guy and looks at him for the first time.
And what did you and your uncle find out?
I couldn't keep up with him. Mine hurt, especially on the long ones. I can't seem to straighten it out. No feeling in it. Kind of numb.
Frank sees a curious sign on the wall which reads, Specimen Extraction, rooms 1 through 10. Dr. Kolzak stands by room 7 and motions to the door.
If you would.
She hands Frank a cup.
For what?
A sperm count.
Frank sees the clinic sign for the first time and wonders what he's gotten himself into.
In here.
Well, it's not exactly the backyard, but it'll do.
Yes, of course. Well...
He enters the room. A second passes and we hear from inside the room.
Oh, yes! Oh, oof.
Frank exits the room as fast as he entered. He leans up against the door, exhausted, smokes a cigarette. His hair is messy, glasses crooked, tie askew. He hands her his specimen cup.
Follow me and we'll do the necessary paperwork.
She walks off and Frank pulls himself together and follows. At the reception desk, Tanya is talking to a patient. Frank moves closer, trying to eavesdrop. Just then, the take a number board clicks to 17. Dr. Roberts, older, gruff, sees the number on the wall and the number Frank carries. Yep, they're the same.
This way, please.
What?
Takes his number.
Number 17.
No.
This is 17. You're next.
Angle on Tanya. The commotion has drawn her attention.
A problem?
No, not at all.
Does look familiar.
Have we met before?
Not a line of questioning Frank wants to get into. It could blow his cover. He shields his face as he speaks.
If you'll excuse me, I'm next.
Dr. Roberts hands him a cup as they step away from the desk.
Room 4.
7 seems to be lucky for me.
He enters room 7. Angle on the wall clock. A half hour passes. Angle on room 7. Dr. Roberts knocks on the door and calls out to Frank.
Sir, how we doing?
Frank peeks out.
I've been busy, if that's what you mean.
Would you like a videotape to assist you?
You have Dances with Wolves, Rocketeer, Lady and the Tramp?
An adult movie.
She hands him a video. Major Hooters.
Ah, I see. Well,
Frank disappears back into the room. Angle on the wall clock. 5 more minutes have passed. Angle on room 7. Dr. Roberts waits. Frank exits and hands her 6 cups. He's beat.
the tape is very entertaining.
Follow me.
Do you have Spartacus?
They exit. Angle on the reception desk. Dr. Robert leaves Frank off and waits. Frank looks around. No one's in sight. He stealthily opens a file cabinet marked personal. He rifles through looking for Tanya's file. Angle on the files. As Frank paws through them, we see their label tabs. Amelia Earhart, Kennedy assassination, location of Hoffa's body, missing 18 minutes of Watergate tapes, photos of Heidi placed with a lot of celebrities. Finally, he comes across one marked Tanya Peters' home address. Resume Frank. Frank looks around for something to write with, sees an open purse beneath the counter, pulls out a handkerchief, white with a blue border, and a tube of lipstick. He begins copying down Tanya's address.
Your attention, please. This is security. There was a Mercedes on fire in the doctor's parking lot.
A herd of white-coated doctors trample by in a rush to get outside. Frank acts casual, then looks down at what he's written. Insert handkerchief. Scrawled on there in lipstick, Tanya, RD2 214093 Honeymoon Bay Road Northeast. Angle on Tanya walking towards the desk sees Frank.
What are you doing?
He stuffs the hanky in his pocket.
Just freshening up.
He quickly starts applying lipstick to himself. She's not buying it.
It's not true what they say about, that you don't have to look your best.
Wait a minute. I think I remember you.
Frank spots a specimen cup on the counter and grabs it.
Ah, here it is. Back to work.
He quickly exits, wiping the lipstick off his mouth as he goes. Tanya looks after him, curious about his behavior. Track with Frank. He has to get away from Tanya. Heads down the hall. He looks at the cup. Can't possibly do this again. In the background, Tanya's still watching him. Frank rips open the first door he comes to.
Get out of here!
Frank slams the door, embarrassed. Now Tanya's heading towards him. Frank quickly jumps to room 7. Instantly, we hear moaning.
Ah.
Tanya knocks on the door.
Are you okay in there?
I could use a little help.
Tanya beckons off screen. A dominatrix enters, dressed in lots of black rubber, carrying a whip. She disappears into room 7. We hear the crack of a whip.
Whoa, mama!
Interior clinic called later. Frank's sitting in a wheelchair. He's jello, limp, a sweaty, wasted heap. He holds his specimen cup with trembling hands. A male nurse is wheeling him to reception. Angle on the reception desk, the male nurse picks up a form.
I can't believe you haven't filled out an admittance form. Your name and address, please.
The day catches up with him. Frank's body droops. He nods off. Exterior Frank and Jane's house, night. Frank's car pulls into the driveway. The headlights go off. Inside the living room later, Frank enters minus glasses and sling. He can barely walk thanks to his afternoon activity. His right wrist is bandaged heavily in thumb and forefinger. He starts a slow, painful walk into the room. Chances Are by Johnny Mathis wafts from the stereo speakers.
Frank, I've been thinking about you all afternoon.
Frank's eyes widen. Angle on Jane. She drops the robe she's wearing, revealing her nightgown.
I'm wearing the nightgown you bought me for our honeymoon.
Rings of tiny lights whirl around her breasts. Lighted arrows twinkle off and on, pointing to the area just below her belt line. She gives Frank a big hug and sexy kiss. In the background, we see candlelit dinner for two has been laid out.
Tonight is going to be a special night. I'm going to make love to you for hours and hours. And wouldn't Mr. Happy like that?
Frank can imagine the pain.
Hours?
Just like we did our first time together. I put the defibrillator beside the bed, just in case.
She nibbles his ear, playfully stretching the earlobe, and Frank likes this, but
Jane, why don't I get ready and soak in a tub for a few days?
she lets his earlobe go. It snaps back.
You're so cute. Let me get the clams and oysters.
Jane exits. Now we see the back of her nightgown. A lighted bullseye target flickers on her behind. Frank takes the champagne out of the ice bucket and pours the ice on the couch. Sits on the ice. He's hoping it will bring a soothing numbness. He pours the chilled champagne down to the front of his pants. Steam rises up. Jane re-enters seductively with a tray of fresh clams and oysters. She sets it down, starting to unbutton Frank's shirt.
Here, I'll shave your back like last time.
Jane, I'm not ready to...
Too late. His shirt's off. Jane sees his back is covered with red lash marks.
Frank, what's this?
I fell on a rake.
You're lying. Now I know why Ed has been calling every half an hour. You've been working on a case, haven't you?
No, I swear it's another woman.
In your wildest dreams. Isn't it enough you won't have a baby? But I warned you that what would happen if you went back to the police squad. You white Anglo male.
She stomps into the bedroom and slams the door. Angle on Frank as he crosses to the bedroom.
Jane, it was nothing. I was just doing Ed a small favor.
Jane exits the bedroom. In a split second, she's gotten out of the nightgown and into a dress, and she's carrying 2 full suitcases. Frank can't understand how this could happen.
I'm leaving, Frank.
Aren't you being a little hasty?
I don't think so.
Doorbell rings.
That should be the cab. If you need to, you can reach me at Louise's.
Frank is overwhelmed by the speed which this is happening.
Oh, and Frank, how could you?
She breaks down. Frank pulls the handkerchief from his pocket, the white one with blue borders, and hands it to Jane. She dabs her eyes.
We need some time apart to think about this.
Frank grabs her and pulls her close.
Well, I'm not going to think. Why should I start now? I love you. Look, baby, I am what I am and I do what I do. A few guys make shoelaces, others lace sod. Some make a good living neutering animals. I'm a cop.
Pretty speech, Frank, but my mind is made up. I'm leaving.
All right, but take this with you.
He kisses her big time. Angle on Jane's feet. Her toes curl up in her shoes. Angle on Frank and Jane. He looks into her eyes.
I guess you know how my lips feel about things.
Jane exits, giving her bags to the taxi driver who's been waiting. Frank watches her go. He's lost the only love of his life. Exterior Louise's house the next morning. Louise crosses back and forth, pulling stuff out of the garage, packing it into the convertible. Jane's helping. It's right out of Thelma and Louise. Jane is tossing down a gulp from a bottle.
He promised me he wouldn't go back to police work, but once a cop, always a cop. He's married to his work, not me.
That's the way it is with them. You'll always come in second. There's a great article in Cosmo this month, Why All Men Are Pigs. You should read it.
Frank's just another word for lizard, as far as I'm concerned. I never want to see him again. I want to get as far away from this town as possible.
We'll head up to my friend's cabin. It's by the smelting planet. The fresh air will do you good. Jane, go easy. That's your second bottle of Chanel.
We're going to another planet? Oh my God. Louise, you're witnessing the beginning of a new Jane Spencer Drebin. No more little Miss Perky, who devoted her life to one man. I'm out to find a new me. And you know what? I'm not even going to set my hair tomorrow.
They get into the car.
Let's burn rubber, baby. I hope I'm not inconveniencing you.
You won my case. This is the least I can do. Louise hits the taxi meter installed in her car. It starts clicking off as Louise backs down the driveway.
You didn't forget anything, did you?
Hope not. They drive off. Angle on Louise's car. A washer and dryer, big screen TV, steamer trunk, water skis, and a moose head are placed in or strapped to the car. Because, yeah, who doesn't need a moose head? Interior, police squad, day. Usual busy scene. Frank enters. He carries a plate covered with aluminum foil. Track with Frank. We hear snippets of phone conversation from various cops as Frank passes their desks.
Now calm down, ma'am. How many bodies did you find in your pool?
Frank looks wistfully at the cop.
No, sir. In this state, killing a gang member is only an $18 fine. Just mail it in.
Frank clenches his fist and winces with desire.
Just as he was starting to jaywalk, I let him have it with my 44. 3 shots to the midsection.
Frank bites his knuckle. He really misses this action. Ed sees him and waves him over.
Hey, Frank. Glad you could make it.
Nordberg crosses to Frank, as do all the police squatters. Greetings from everyone.
Welcome.
Frank, did you happen to find that address?
I wrote it down on a handkerchief, and now I can't remember what I did with it. I guess I'm a little rusty.
No.
Everyone,
Oh, I brought you some of my Frank's Never Fail fudge.
he hands the plate to Nordberg.
Smells great.
Go ahead about your business. I'll stay out of your hair.
He takes out a bottle of Pledge and starts to dust off the desktop. He empties ashtrays. Now he's using a dustbuster to suck up the old cigarette butts. Angle on Ed and Nordberg. Exchange a poor bastard look. Ed wants to help his friend.
Frank, we were a little surprised for you.
Ed motions to Nordberg, who reaches up, grabs a robe, and gives it a yank. Frank looks up. Angle on the wall, a cloth falls away. Hanging just below the ceiling is Frank's green suit, including shirt, tie, and black shoes. An oversized badge is pinned to the label. Written on the wall above the suit is the name, Drebin.
It's in honor of your 30 years on the force.
Applause from the squatters. In background, we see other retired uniforms hanging next to Frank's. A trench coat labeled Ness, a Western outfit tagged Dirt, a frilly pink evening gown marked Hoover. Resume Frank, a wistful smile.
Thanks, guys.
We thought it might cheer you up.
You've heard about Jane and me?
Only that she left you for good and will never be back.
Nordberg.
Jane. Jane, that name will always remind me of her.
Frank, I feel really bad about all this. If there's anything you need.
Like Dr. Kurvikovia's home phone number. Kurakova, whatever, Russian.
Nordberg, it's Kevorkian.
He throws the ball. Nordberg goes after it like a puppy. Oh, that's a good metaphor for Travis. Ted Olson enters.
Hi, Ted.
Yeah. Nice to see you, Frank.
They trust to Ted's table.
What have you got on the bomb, Ted?
Well, the explosive itself is a very fine powder.
Frank looks at the table. Several piles of powder. Frank dips his finger in one and tastes it.
Tastes like...
That would be fertilizer, Frank. It's for another case. This is what I'm talking about. We detect a high quantity of nitroglycerin.
Can you tell us where it came from?
Be glad to.
He turns off the lights and turns on a slide projector.
Billions of years ago, the Earth was a molten mass. As it cooled, a colorless, odorless, tasteless gas.
Ted, I mean the powder.
Oh, we haven't got a clue about that, Frank.
Ted turns the lights back on. All the furniture has been rearranged. There's a different view out the window.
However, we found a detailed list of the bomber's plans at the scene. On a hunch, we analyzed the paper.
Got something?
Yes, the paper came from Statesville Prison.
Frank and Ed exchange a look.
Are you sure?
Positive. We analyzed the wood fibers in the paper and found them to be from the rare Canary Island pine, which grows only in Oregon. Contacting several paper mills in that area lead us to a distribution center in Tacoma. From there, we followed the paper through a chain of stationery supply stores, but unfortunately, that's where the trail ended.
So then how did you trace it to Statesville Prison?
Ted hands the sheet of paper to Frank.
It's all right here on the letterhead, Frank.
Nordberg comes back, bouncing the rubber ball.
After comparing handwriting samples with every known bomber currently doing a stretch in Statesville, we came up with a suspect, Rocco Dillon.
He must be masterminding the bombings from inside the prison.
Well, if
that's
that's
true.
true,
There's only one way to find out where Rocco's going to strike next.
we'll ask him.
He'll never fall for that one, Nordberg.
Look, Frank's right. We have to send someone into Statesville prison. Someone smart, crafty, and oblivious to danger. Someone who's been on the force for a good 20 years.
Someone who's just split up with his wife and has absolutely nothing to live for.
Nordberg! Go deep.
Nordberg runs off screen. Ed produces a football from somewhere and throws it after him.
No, Ed, Nordberg's right. Jane's gone. My life is over. I'll do it.
Frank, I couldn't. I wouldn't feel right about it. Look, if Rocco finds out you're a cop, you might end up dead.
You might end up dead is my middle name.
What about Jane?
I don't know her middle name. But I need the action, Ed. I'm going inside the big house.
Off screen, we hear a car alarm.
Oh, you might want to see this.
They cross to a window. Ted points outside and everybody looks.
We're testing out an anti-carjacking device, which would be great in LA.
Exterior street, same time. A masked carjacker, gun in hand, is trying to pull a woman out of the Mercedes. Immediately, a claw on the end of the metal arm springs up from under her car frame. It clamps smack into the carjacker's genitals. He howls in pain. The woman drives off, leaving the device attached to the punk.
We call it the Denver jockstrap.
Back to police squad. Everybody winces with an, "ooh, that hurts" kind of look. Exterior, Statesville prison, day.
It wasn't long before I was inside the cold gray walls of Statesville prison.
Exterior prison yard. Frank and the others are led through the yard. Cons linger around. We see black gangs, Chicano gangs, white gangs, and a gang of prison Hasidic Jews.
I was surrounded by pimps, rapists, and murderers. It was like sitting in the stands at a Los Angeles Raiders game.
Angle on the cons. Weightlifting, shooting baskets, being pushed on swings by other cons, dressed in white and lawn bowling, shot putting, high jumping, and finally a pole vaulter clearing the prison fence. Frank's group is led into the prison. Interior cell block night. His guard escort drags Frank through the corridor on his way to the cell. Tough-looking guys all around. A con lights a match on his own face. A lifter scrapes an oil-soaked rag torch on his face. It ignites instantly. One of the cells we pass has a lion in it. A white-faced mime looking out through pretend bars goes all sorts of miming bullshit.
Rocco Dillon was the toughest guy in the joint. I figured the best way to make an impression was to be badder and tougher.
Angle on a big, hairy con, the kind of guy you'd find in a Turkish prison. He's holding a mirror up to his bars, watching Frank being led to his cell. He likes what he sees, a lot. Angle on the cell, the guards stop. Unlock it, Frank's thrown inside. Inside the cell, the door slams shut. Frank grabs a tin cup and rushes forward, breaks it across the metal bars, and hollers.
Ain't a prison yet that can hold me. Attica, Attica, power to the brothers, kill Whitey.
A hand spins him around roughly. He's face to face with Rocco, and Rocco gives him a look.
Hey, you're chirping awfully loud for a new canary.
Oh yeah, keep flashing the big eyes, and I'll personally bounce and rotate your jaw.
Angle on Tyrone, Rocco's bodyguard. A huge black guy with massive arms slides off his bunk and approaches Frank. Dwarfs him.
You know who you're talking to?
Yeah, Tweedledum and Tweedledummer.
This man is Rocco Dillon. He's one tough egg.
I made omelets out of tougher eggs than him.
Close look by Rocco reveals Frank has no prison number.
Where's your prison number?
It's unlisted. Just call me Nick the Slasher McGurk, Jr.
Rocco still isn't buying this.
The third. I killed the first two.
Look, hamhead, I'm the muscle in this pen. Just stay out of my way. Because if you don't, I'll rip you up and feed you to Tyrone here, piece by piece.
Well, somebody woke up on the wrong side of the bed today.
Rocco looks at him perplexed.
Better watch your step, McKirk. Take it from me. This place changes a man.
Oh, yeah? In what way?
I used to be white, and I was the drummer for the Osmonds. I was a drummer for the Osmonds.
Screw with me. He'll make you feel pain like you've never felt before.
I know. I remember the Osmonds.
Off screen, the voices of the guards are heard yelling, "Lights out!" Lights snap off and cell doors clang shut.
Better hit the rack, McGurk.
In a minute. First, I gotta make a list of people I'm gonna kill the next couple days.
Rocco and Tyrone give Frank a look, then hit their bunks. Frank moves over to roll the top desk, snaps a little Tiffany lamp, sits down with a pen and paper, and begins to write.
My dearest Snooky Wookums, I'd hate to let anything come between us. I love you. I want you so much. I long for your touch. I'll do anything you want.
He looks at what he wrote, decides it will never change Jane's mind, crumples it up, and tosses it behind him. Angle on the letter. It bounces through the bars into the corridor. A passing guard unwittingly kicks it into a Harry Con's cell. The letter rolls in, stops at his feet. He unballs it and reads. A smile crosses his face. He holds his mirror up to the bars. Angle from his point of view through the mirror. A lonely, mopey Frank lying on his bunk. Resume on Harry Con. He can't wait to get together with Frank. He spritzes breath freshener into his mouth, followed by Lysol. Then he gargles cologne and scrubs his teeth with a toilet brush. Interior prison shower the next morning. Heavy steam swirls around the shower floor like coastal fog. Cons, including Rocco and Frank, lather up. A soap on a rope hangs around Frank's soap rack. Also, lots of creams and hair products. Frank is humming, "You must have been a beautiful baby." He's having a great time. Angle on the Harry Con giving Frank the love eyes. He wants Frank. And now. He slides up to him. Rocco finishes his shower and watches.
Nice legs.
Frank is Mr. Naivete.
Oh, I thank you. I try to stay active. I walk, ride a bike.
Beautiful blue eyes.
I think the lighting in here sets them off. They aren't really this deep blue.
Nice, smooth white skin.
Oh, I don't overdo the sun. I use this new cream.
He grabs a tube from the soap tray.
Here, let me rub some all over your back for you.
He does. The Harry Con is getting off on Frank's touch. His back is a gigantic fur ball. In fact, it's ridiculously hairy.
Oh, you could use a wax job.
Frank finishes and turns around.
Now stay out of that nasty old Mr. Soul.
The Harry Con drops his soap. The room goes silent. It's E.F. Hutton. Even the water stops. All eyes on Frank. Angle on Rocco, who watches closely.
Pick that up for me, will you, lover?
No problem.
Angle on Frank. He bends over. The steam has dispersed, revealing Frank's wearing what looks like metal diapers, with a big lock on them. Harry Con is vastly disappointed. Angle on Rocco. McGurk is one of the smart cookies. Interior mess hall. Later, same morning, Frank carrying his plate of food towards Rocco's table. He passes a con wearing a jacket that reads on the back, "How am I behaving? Call 1-800-PAROLE."
I could tell Rocco thought I was one smart con. My next stop was to get him to trust me.
He sits down next to Tyrone, across from Rocco, who gives him a look.
All rise for morning prayer.
The cons all rise. Angle on the chaplain. Steps up to the podium.
The rostrum. It's called.
I-
It's been a hard day's night.
Frank, Rocco, and the rest of the cons recite in a drone-like prayer.
And I've been
And
working,
I've been working
like a dog.
It's been a hard day's night.
I should be
I should be
sleeping
sleeping
like
like
a
a
log.
log.
She loves you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold me, love me, hold me, love me.
Ain't got
Ain't
nothing
got
but love, babe.
Love.
babe.
Oh, bloody.
Oblada.
Oblada.
Life goes on.
Ah.
Amen.
Everyone sits and begins eating. Angelon, Rocco, and Tyrone peeking in hushed tones. Frank's eavesdropping.
Tyrone, I got the plans here. It's just you and me.
And Brunette wants in too.
Burnett's one of the guards.
I know, but he's unhappy here.
Jeez. He's a goddamn guard, for Christ's sakes.
Hey, I'm not wild about him either, but it's too late now.
All right. Whatever. I got it all worked out here.
Rocco pulls a folded paper from his shirt and starts to open it. It's suddenly snatched roughly from his hand.
What's this?
Angelon the guard, bitter, tough, holding the paper, sneering.
Another letter from your mommy?
Hey, that's private, screw.
The guard starts unfolding the paper and tense music up.
Let's see what we got here.
The guard starts unfolding the paper and Frank grabs his arm, stops him. The guard shakes him off.
Why don't you give the man back his letter?
Buzz it off, butter cheeks. What's so special about this little letter? Wait a minute. An escape plan? This is your ticket to another 20 years, Dylan. The warden gets one look at this.
Frank stands quickly, scoops up a spoonful of gruel, and shouts defiantly.
Hey, you call this slop? Real slop has chunks of things. This is more like gruel.
All eyes turn to Frank. He picks up his wine glass, addresses the entire mess hall.
And this Chateau LeBlanc 68 should be served slightly chilled. This is room temperature. What do you think we are, animals?
All the cons jump up.
No!
No!
What are we?
Homo sapiens?
Olympians!
This throws Frank for a moment.
That's right. We're men.
The cons start banging their tin plates and cups against the tables, shouting.
We are men. We are men.
The guard starts backing away. Frank grabs the guard's hat, flings it away, then snaps the plans out of his hands. The guard goes after Frank. Tyrone jumps the guard. All hell breaks loose. It's a major free-for-all. Guards run in from everywhere. Angelon Tyrone going at it with the guard. Rocco's fighting another. Frank can't get caught with the plans. He begins tearing the first page into pieces, stuffing it in his mouth. Frank is shocked to see there are 4 pages behind the first. Angelon the guard, carrying on a stack of prison records. He's punched by a con. The papers go flying. Angelon Frank, the papers rain down on him, knocking the plans from his hands. Which papers are the plans? He has no choice. He gathers them all, then scampers under a table. Angelon Rocco, guard swings a frying pan at him. Rocco ducks. Suddenly, Tyrone crashes a fire hydrant down on the guard's head, and the guard goes down hard. Angelon Frank, looking for a way to make all the papers palatable. He reaches up onto the table, pulls down salt and pepper shakers, seasons up a piece of paper, and eats it. Angelon Rocco, he's got a guard in a headlock. He twists the guy's head. A little more. A little more. Suddenly, the guard's head comes off. His body falls the other way. Angelon Frank, pulling condiments down off the table. Ketchup, mustard, A1 sauce, pouring them on the paper. Angelon the riot. A guard hits a con with his baton. Instantly, a huge lump rises on the con's head. Angelon Frank, shreds of the paper on the plate look like pasta, pours spaghetti sauce on it, starts to eat it. Angelon the riot. A pile of guys look like they're fighting. Push in to reveal they're embroiled in a game of Twister. Angelon Frank, he has the fondue pot going. He's dunking bits of paper into the thick cheese sauce. Angelon the riot. 2 huge Orientals in prison garb are wrestling. As they grab at each other, their clothes are torn off, revealing them to be sumo wrestlers clad in diapers. Angelon the riot. Camera pans over from 2 cons holding a guard while a third con thrashes him soundly to 2 other cons holding a guard while a third con force feeds him lima beans. The guard is gagging. Angelon Tyrone, he headbutts a guard, turns, headbutts another guard. He's on a roll, spins around, accidentally headbutts an I-beam. Huge clank. Tyrone drops like a rock. Angelon Frank, just finishing up the paper. Rocco slides under the table, out of breath. Behind them, we see the legs of the rioting cons.
You saved my bacon, McGurk. I'd be in solitary right now if you hadn't done that. But I think they got Tyrone.
They look out from under the table. Angle on Tyrone point of view. The guards have him by the arms. They're dragging him through the riot. They pass a gaggle of reporters who thrust a dozen microphones in his face.
Do you have anything to say for yourself, Mr.
I don't think he has anything to say.
Did I miss something?
No, not at all.
Because I think I missed something.
Papa
It's
65.
can't we all just
I've
get
been
along?
watching you, McGurk. You handle yourself real good.
Papa 65.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I handle myself really well.
Yeah, whatever. Look, I got something big coming up on the outside. Something real big. I could use someone like you in my gang.
You got a dental plan?
Full coverage.
My appetite's all wet. What's the caper?
First, we gotta bust out of this playpen. Thanks to you, we still have our escape plan. Let's have it.
Frank gulps. A burp. Confetti sprays from his mouth.
It's a good plan.
I've had better. Listen, I got a better plan.
Exterior honky-tonk bar. Night. Just off the main highway, a huge moon neon sign lights up the place. Angle on the bar door. Music can be heard through the walls. Voices raised and sung. 100 bottles of beer on the wall. Jane pushes through the door, tears in her eyes. A huge billow of smoke follows her out. As she stands there gagging, Louise leans in out the door. Hey, where you going? You're not thinking of Frank again, are you? The voices inside have reached 87 bottles of beer on the wall, and Jane points back in the bar.
They're playing our song.
I understand. Louise ducks back into the bar. Angle on Jane. She heads towards a phone booth near the edge of the highway. In the background, we see Louise's convertible sits in the parking lot. All their belongings are there. People are picking through them. Jane reaches the phone booth. She's about to enter. She stops. Suddenly, she gasps. From around the corner steps, Angle on a greasy trucker. Jane's point of view, the music sting. He's right up in her face, wearing a baseball cap, women's breasts in the crown, and dark glasses that have women's legs as earpieces wrapped around his face.
Excuse me.
She moves to go around him, and he blocks her.
I'm jacking a load of crowbars down to Big D. What do you say about coming with me?
No, thank you.
Then how about a kiss?
No.
I know when a woman says no, she really means yes. Now how about that kiss?
Yes?
What do you mean no?
He grabs her.
I know your type. You marry a man because he's perfect. Then you want to change him. The guy sacrifices everything. His career, his life, to give you what you want. Then when he slips up, you run out. And you end up with a tattooed, hard-drinking, drugged-out slimeball like me. I've seen it 1,000 times.
He angles in for the kiss, and Jane fights off his attempts.
Come on, baby, we're two of a kind.
Jane reaches into her purse and pulls out a can of mace and sprays the bejesus out of him.
Ah!
Jane pulls out a taser gun. She gives him a shot.
Ah!
Jane attaches two of those clip-on clothespins to his nipples. The
Ah!
trucker stumbles around, staggers out onto the highway. A big semi is heading towards him. Jane calls out a warning.
Look out!
The trucker looks up. From the trucker's point of view, the semi is almost on him. Back on Jane, off screen, a huge thunk. Jane does a Tom Landry wince, buries her face in her hands. The trucker's body, a dummy, goes flying by. She doesn't see it. When she looks back at the road, the trucker is gone. Louise runs back to her. You killed him! My God!
It was an accident. We have to call the police.
She starts for the phone booth. Louise grabs her shoulder and spins her around, shakes her violently. Jane, come to your senses. You killed a man. You're a hero to every woman in this country. Thanks for shaking yourself for me. She stops shaking Jane. Jane's hair is now changed into another hairdo.
We have to call Frank. Frank will protect us.
Louise shakes her head again, another hairdo. Frank is a man. He'll see you're locked away for the rest of your life. She shakes Jane again, another hairdo. One more shake and Jane's hair is back to normal. Jane, I want to join you to help you kill as many men as possible. Jane pulls away from Louise.
Louise, I think you need professional help.
She She turns away and goes into the phone booth to begin dialing. Of course! Why didn't I think of that? We'll hire mercenaries! Louise exits. Camera pushes in to reveal Jane intently listening on the phone ringing on the other end.
Be home, Frank. Please answer the phone. Answer the phone, Snuggy Pants.
Hi.
Frank!
Her euphoria is short-lived. It's the answering machine.
This is the home of Jane Spencer Drebin and her husband. If you want Jane, press 1. If you want Frank, press 2. If you want Jane and Frank, press 3. If you don't want either, press 4. If this is an obscene call, press 5 if it's for Jane and 6 if it's for Frank. Wait for the
Beep sound. During Frank's voiceover, we see the trucker get to his feet in the background. He shakes himself out. He's face to face with Louise. He begins to manhandle her. She pounds his shoulders and chest with her fists. But finally, she succumbs to his manly charms. He scoops her into his arms and carries her off.
Frank, it's Jane. I miss you.
You didn't press anything, so goodbye.
Phone clicks off. Jane hangs up. She's so sad. She starts to cry and pulls out a handkerchief. She goes to blow her nose and stops. She looks at the handkerchief. Insert handkerchief, white with blue border. It's the hanky Frank wrote the address on with lipstick. Angle on Jane.
Frank was telling the truth. It was another woman. Frank! Oh!
Exterior Louise's car, now minus their belongings, rolls by. The trucker's behind the wheel. He's got his arm around Louise's shoulder, her hands on his shoulder. A card across the trunk reads, Vegas or bust. They peel out of the parking lot, slinging a ton of gravel into the air. They're obviously dishing Jane. Interior Frank and Rocco's cell, day. Rocco lies on his bunk, reading a book. Frank, wearing a 1957 Milwaukee Braves hat, throws the baseball against the wall, catching it in a glove, a la The Great Escape.
We settled on a plan to dig a tunnel.
A guard walks by, looks in the cell, walks on. Frank throws down the glove, pushes aside the bunks. A hole has been carved into the wall. Frank grabs a spoon from his pillowcase, hands it to Rocco, and they climb through the hole into angle on the tunnel. Well underway. The small hole in the wall leads into an old West-type mine shaft with the thick modern support beams. Exterior prison yard, ball field. Frank's wearing a baseball glove. His pants are obviously full of dirt.
Disposing of the dirt was a problem I solved early in the construction.
Angle on home plate. Frank takes a practice cut with his bat. Reaches into his pocket, pulls a string. Dirt comes out his pant legs, a la The Great Escape. Pours it all over the plate. The umpire, a guard and a chest protector, sweeps off the plate with his little broom. He turns, hands back behind the catcher, suddenly stops, looks quizzically. Insert plate, covered with dirt again. Angle on the umpire, baffled, but dutifully bends down and sweeps off the dirty plate again. Interior Frank's cell, night.
We kept digging. At night, dummies gave the screws the impression we were still in our cells.
Two freshly made dummies take the place of Frank and Rocco. The poses on the dummies are reminiscent of department store mannequins, pointing off into the distance, kneeling, always smiling. Frank's dummy has a jacket thrown jauntily over its shoulders. Angle on the guard who walks by their cell. Everything's in order until Frank's dummy loses a leg.
You better check into the infirmary tomorrow, McGurk.
Guard walks on. Interior mess hall.
There was more dirt than I anticipated. Disposing of it was becoming tricky business.
Frank's behind the counter. He's spooning dirt onto a Khan's plate. Khan looks at it puzzled. We see his coffee cup and water glass hold dirt. Angle on a mess table. The Khan's eating dirt. One hard-bitten Khan has a mud-caked face. He's sopping up the remaining dirt from his plate with bread. Interior behind the mess line. Frank ladles dirt into the Tupperware bowl, puts the lid on, opens the refrigerator. It's filled, even the freezer, with Tupperware crammed with dirt. Interior Frank and Rocco's cell. Frank grabs a book from his shelf, lays it on his bunk. On the bunk, we see a pile of dirt, but sculpted, pillow and all, like a sand sculpture. In the prison yard, ball field, tight on Frank, up to bat. We widen to reveal the dirt pouring out of Frank's pant leg. He's doing his best to casually tamp it down with his foot. The area around home plate is now 5 feet taller. Angle on the pitcher, who's fingering the ball and looking up at home plate. Angle on the runner on third. He has a huge lead halfway down the baseline. The pitcher starts to wind. The runner breaks for home. Frank's waving him in. The runner slides headlong, leading with the outstretched arms. He torpedoes into the mound of dirt, which is now home plate. Half of him disappears. Angle on the umpire, who looks down at the torso and legs sticking out of the mound of dirt.
Safe!
Frank picks himself up off the ground, looks around, and wonders what the hell just happened. Sound effects over, the blast of a diesel truck's air horn. On the highway, a huge semi is flying towards us down the road. Music over, 6 days on the road. Angle inside the semi. Music continues. It's Jane behind the wheel of this hurtling machine. She looks small in the giant cab. Her upstretched arms clutch the steering wheel. She cranks the suicide knob as the wheel goes around. It lifts her into frame. Jane checks out a map, pulls it up to get a closer look. Then a closer look. Pretty soon, the map spread out in front of her face, blocking her entire view of the road. Exterior truck. The truck barrels through a Caltrans workstation, smashing a wooden road closed sign to splinters. Road workers scatter and dive out of the way. Inside the truck, it lurches, as if hitting a speed bump. Jane looks back at the road, sees nothing out of the ordinary. In the background, a bleary-eyed guy sticks his head out of the sleeper compartment and gives a look at Jane. He yawns, then disappears again. Angle on the gas gauge, dangerously close to empty. On the road, angle on the semi. Rockets off down the road. We catch a glimpse of the aluminum cutouts of reclining nude males on the mud flaps. Inside the prison, outside cells. Men are lined up for inspection. Guard passes down the line of cons.
There's been a rumor of a possible breakout. Let me remind you, if we suspect anyone of attempting an escape, they will be punished severely.
He comes to Frank and Rocco. They have piles of dirt on top of their heads and shoulders. The guard doesn't even give it a second thought.
Finally, the day of the breakout arrived. After inspection, we headed for the tunnel. So
I
Inside
Angel
Kel.
inside Kel,
Yeah.
whenever you're ready.
Angle.
Can,
Inside
guys, I'm
cell.
just testing. Can you
Travis,
all
shut up.
Oh, damn it, Travis!
Can you all
Said
hear me?
Travis.
Travis says, shh.
Angle. Inside cell. Frank and Rocco race to their tunnel, don miner caps with lights on the crown, and disappear down the shaft. Exterior grassy field day. A patch of sod is removed. Frank pokes his head out. Something is on his face. He can't make it out. He hears a whistle, then a cheer. He turns. Angle from Frank's point of view, it's the LA Coliseum. The Raiders are kicking off, charging his way. Angle on Frank, on his head, he's kicking a tee with a football standing on it. Angle on the kicker, coming at Frank. On Angle and Frank, sheer terror. He ducks down just in time. On the kicker, the kickoff proceeds as usual.
My calculations seem to be off. Fortunately, our tunnel intersected with the new city subway system.
Exterior forest lawn cemetery. Open grave, casket, mourners with head bowed, a priest doing the rites.
Oh,
Amen.
hang on.
Oh, no one was priest.
I-
Jesus Christ!
Amen.
Hang on a sec. I'm just going to pause going. Go for it.
Jesus Christ!
Frank and Rocco quickly duck back out of sight.
Amen.
Exterior manhole close-up. The lid comes off. Rocco and Frank exit from the hole and they look around, confused.
We scurried along a little used fault line and finally reached our original destination.
Another angle, street tough, badass 17 and 18-year-old boys and girls mingle about, give our guys a mean eye. A sign behind them reads Shorewood High School. Angle and Frank and Rocco huddled together for safety.
I've never seen Rocco so frightened.
We hear the cocking of many guns. Exterior high school, Muriel's car, same time. Muriel's waving for the guys. Rocco and Frank run to the car under a hail of bullets. Angle on the other students, walking nonchalantly to class, books under their arms, some licking ice cream cones. They see the shootout. Suddenly, they're pulling their guns out from everywhere. Purses, book bags, lunch pails. They begin firing too. Angle on the getaway car, peels out just in time, taking big-time hits. Inside the car, Muriel and Rocco are in the front seat. Frank is in the back.
That was close.
Frank spots Muriel behind the wheel.
Who's the old hag? Geez, she take one in the face?
My mother.
Big mistake. Rocco goes for his gun. Frank quickly covers, holds his head, and moans.
Oh, my head, it's amnesia. Where am I? There, I'm better now.
Looks at Muriel as if seeing her for the first time.
Oh, and this lovely lady must be your mother. Mrs. Dillon, your son is a ruthless, sadistic, cold-blooded animal. You must be very proud of him.
I am.
Ma, I want you to meet a square egg, Nick the Slasher McGurk.
Muriel gives Frank a cold stare. She doesn't trust this stranger. There's fresh clothes in the back. As Frank and Rocco start stripping off their prison duds,
Rocco's mom was quiet, but I had a feeling she didn't care for me coming along.
angle on Frank's point of view, rear view mirror. Muriel is giving him the finger.
Like a midget at a urinal, I was going to have to stay on my toes.
Exterior semi. The truck sputters to a stop. Inside the semi, the gas gauge shows empty. Jane hops out of the immobile truck, slams the door in disgust. She starts walking away from the truck, carrying the handkerchief and map. As she presses the front end, we see there's a Caltrans worker holding a flag and orange cone. Plastered on the grill, Jane breezes by, oblivious. The Caltrans worker peels off the front end, tumbles to the ground. Exterior mountain cabin later that same day. A cabin in the woods feel. Muriel pulls up. All get out of the car. Interior cabin moments later. Very lived in. Muriel's had this place for many years.
What do you think, kid?
Ah, sweet setup.
No phone, miles from the nearest town, Playboy channel. Perfect.
Nice digs, but I'm here for action. What are we going after? A bank, armed car, the Dodgers payroll?
You're getting a little bit too nosy, McGurk. Muriel pulls out a gun, sticks it in Frank's face. Rocco, the peacemaker, steps between the two.
Relax, Ma. She's been itching to try out her new gun.
I know the feeling.
Muriel puts the gun away. Suddenly, something catches Rocco's eyes off screen. He stares appreciatively at some sexy legs. They go on forever. The sexy music goes up. Angle on Frank. Will they ever end? Angle on Tanya. Finally, they do, revealing on a gangster's dream. Gorgeous. She wears the skimpiest, sexiest bikini and PG-13 rating will allow. She poses in the doorway. Sexy music over. Angle on Rocco.
Tanya, aren't you a sight for sore thighs?
They stare longingly at each other. Angle on Frank, still staring gate-mouthed at Tanya.
It was Tanya. That bikini was never happier. I only had a second to admire the view. I had to watch out. She made me as a cop I'd be tonight's meatloaf.
Tanya gives Rocco a sultry look.
Come here, sexy.
Frank misunderstands and starts walking towards her.
You're all woman, I can tell just by looking at you.
She's referring to me.
Oh, I was talking about your mother.
Rocco's appalled. Tanya, that's no way to be walking around. Get some clothes on. And what are you doing in my bathing suit? Rocco sweeps Tanya into his arms. They share a big kiss. Then Tanya gives Frank a scrutinizing look.
Who's the stud?
Meet the newest member of our gang, Slasher McGurk.
Wait a minute. Don't I know you from somewhere?
Rocco tenses. He and Ma pull guns, point them at Frank. Muriel gives Frank the evil eye. I smelled cop on him the minute I saw him. Rocco cocks his gun. Frank's sweating it out.
I get this all the time. The underwear ads played everywhere.
Muriel's not buying. Nobody's buying it.
I ran away as a youth. You probably saw my picture on a milk carton.
Tanya shakes her head. She's squinting hard at him.
I've been on Unsolved Mysteries 5 times.
Are you trying to tell us you're not a cop?
Well, yeah.
A beat passes. They put their guns away.
Good enough for me.
Me too.
I'm fine.
Glad that's cleared up. Ma, what say you two kiss and make up?
All right. Muriel hawks a big clam into a nearby tin bucket. It clangs loudly. She takes her teeth out, hands them to Frank. Frank is expecting a peck on the cheek. What he gets is a long soul kiss. The kiss is done. Muriel still doesn't like Frank. She looks at him with disdain and pops her teeth back in.
That's more like it.
Hold on Frank's stunned expression. He's not sure what just happened, and neither are we. Interior cabin living room later that same night. It's dark. Frank is doing something with his hands just out of frame.
I had to get a message to police squad. This thing was turning into more than I could handle by myself. No phone and miles from civilization. Things look bleaker than the 93 Mets.
Now we see he's been tying a message on the leg of a pigeon. He hears someone coming, quickly tosses the pigeon over his shoulder at an open window. Bad move. The pigeon hits the window fan in the upper pane. Feathers swirl in the blizzard around the Frank's incredulous face. Angle on Tanya snaps on a light.
Slasher, have you seen my pigeon?
Angle on Frank, who's sitting in front of a chessboard.
What are you doing?
Just contemplating my next move.
He picks up a pawn, jumps it around the board like checkers, and Tanya crosses to him.
Your bishop is exposed.
It's these pants. I usually wear a fuller cut.
Tanya rubs Frank's shoulders.
You're all man. I like that in my men.
Frank grabs Tanya's wrist.
You're coming on to me big time, sister. You're purring like a kitten with a fresh mouse, but we got one problem.
You're Jewish?
No, you're Rocco's girl. And in my book, that chapter's called Look But Don't Touch.
I could have two lovers.
Kinky. But I like my sex the way I play basketball, one-on-one, and with as little dribbling as possible.
She throws her arms around Frank, and Frank takes her in his.
Oh, you're tense, Slasher.
I could relax a lot more if I knew what was going on tomorrow. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?
All I know is it's something downtown. And big.
That's the way I like it. What else?
Just this.
She lays a huge kiss on Frank. Exterior forest point of view, night. Hands parting tree branches, footsteps and pine needles. Up ahead, the light window of the Dillon gang hideout. Reverse angle on Jane. She approaches the window, looks inside, sees Frank and Tanya kissing. Interior cabin. Frank and Tanya still kissing. We hear the door open.
What are you doing?
Frank and Tanya look up at the doorway and see Jane, and she's angry. Frank pulls away from Tanya. There's a loud suction pop. He's surprised. He tries to cover by shaking Tanya's hand.
Well, thank you for the advice, Miss Peters. I'm anxious to try out that recipe.
How could you?
Well, you just shove your tongue as far down his throat as you can.
Oh, Frank!
Frank quickly grabs her, gives her a big kiss, stopping her from calling out his name. Jane gags on the kiss, caught unaware.
Quiet, you're not supposed to know me. That's a goodbye kiss, sister.
Angle on Rocco and Muriel. Awakened by the noise, they snap on more lights and run into the room.
What's all this? Who's the skirt?
Just some dizzy dame. Probably her car broke down. I'll drive her to the nearest bus depot.
Angle on Tanya. She spies Jane's wedding ring and holds up her hand for all to see.
Hey, she's married. What if her husband comes looking for her?
Well, he probably will. I bet he's a great guy.
He breaks promises.
Hetty, snippy, marital spat ensues. The others look on.
Well, look at you, traipsing about the country just to spite a big, wonderful guy.
He left me.
More like you left him.
You should talk.
Oh, listen to you.
Listen to you.
Listen to you.
You're so stupid.
You're stupid.
Geez, you two, knock it off. You'd think you were married to something.
What do we do with her, Rocco?
There's no room for her here, because there's an unwritten law on gangs.
Everyone turns expectantly to Frank and waits. Frank shrugs.
Well, it was never written down, but the skirt hits the road.
We bump her off. Jane realizes the danger she's in.
No.
No?
I've been on a job when things went hooey, and I would have given my eye teeth for a hostage. And we all know women make the best hostages. They're smaller, easy to take along, eat less, smell nice.
Flasher's right. We got us an insurance policy. Good thinking, kid. Now let's get some shut-eye. We got a big day ahead of us. Tie the dame up, Slasher.
The gang heads off back to their rooms, and Frank motions Jane into a chair. He begins winding the rope around her ankles.
Are you happy, Frank? You see what your police work has done?
My police work just saved your life.
He's wrapping the cord around her knees.
Oh, and what was all that kissing about?
Information.
What were you trying to find out? What her tonsils feel like?
Jane.
Oh, there's no use in talking.
She takes off her ring and throws it at him.
I'm out of here.
Frank is devastated. He looks at the ring. Sad music sting. Insert ring. The inscription reads, "Here, love Frank." Angle on Frank. Staring at the ring, a tear trickles down his cheek. In the background, Jane stands up. Bad move. She's forgotten she's trussed up. She falls out of frame. Frank's oblivious. Interior bunker the next morning. Frank, Jane, and the gang are crowded in a small brick structure. Muriel's handing out goggles. Tanya's giving Frank secret looks. Rocco hands Frank a pair of binoculars, motions him to look out the window.
Keep your eyes on the tower, Slasher. It's what's going to happen. It's what's going to happen tonight.
Angle on Frank's point of view through the binoculars. The tower stands alone in the field, a long way off.
Gee, it's awfully far away.
Angle on Frank. He's looking through the big end of the binoculars. Muriel reaches over and flips them around.
Ah,
Frank puts the binoculars back to his eyes.
geez, shouldn't we be farther away?
Angle on the tower. Two mechanical arms, dressed in formal wear, stick out from the sides. Both the electronic hands wear white gloves. One of the hands holds a large envelope. Angle on the bunker. Rocco holds a remote control.
This is a little mixture I've been working on. It'll revolutionize terrorist bombs.
Your crowning achievement.
For both of us, Ma. All set?
He pushes a button on the remote. Angle on the tower. The electronic arms whir to life. Meet in front of the tower. The envelope is brought up. The other gloved hand reaches inside it and begins to withdraw the contents. Suddenly, there's a huge whoosh and a massive explosion blows the tower to smithereens. Stock footage, nuclear test blast from the 1950s, mushroom clouds, waving trees, bright flashes of light. Angle inside the bunker. Papers swirling around, everybody's hair is plastered straight back. Frank lowers his binoculars, which are starting to melt. His face is tanned, except for white circles around his eyes. He looks like shell-shocked raccoon.
Very impressive.
He and Jane exchange worried looks. Music sting. They're up against the biggest challenge of their lives, even bigger than trying to have a baby. Exterior Shrine Auditorium, helicopter shot downtown LA. Later the same day. Searchlights scan the horizon. We see half of the city in Los Angeles burning. The sound of fire and police sirens and sporadic gunfire. All to hooray for Hollywood.
From Hollywood, the entertainment capital of the world, the stars are shining bright tonight for the 66th Annual Academy Awards.
Exterior parking garage across from the shrine. Rocco's car pulls to a stop. Outside Rocco's car, Muriel stays behind the wheel and everyone else gets out.
Slasher, put the dame in the trunk. I'll meet you and Ma around back in 10 minutes.
Frank calls Jane towards the trunk. Rocco leans back in the window towards Muriel.
You got the passes?
Muriel hands them to him. Rocco peeks inside the envelope.
Not bad, Ma.
Thanks. Those forgery classes at the community college really paid off. Angle on Frank and Jane. Frank pretending to put Jane in the trunk.
Frank, what are you going to do?
I've got an idea.
Rocco and Tanya walk by them on their way out.
Keep your eye on the dame, Slasher. We had trouble? She's bullet shields.
Frank and Jane look at each other. Ooh. Flip screen 2, interior engine block. Tight angle. Distributor cap and spark plug wires being wrenched off by Frank's hand. Angle on Frank looking on the engine parts in his hand.
This ought to do it.
You'll never get away with this. Frank reaches up, slams the hood of the car, revealing Muriel's arms are stretched out and pinned to the car windows. Her head sticks up to the sunroof, which is closed on her neck, wedging on her tightly. Rocco's gonna kill you, whoever you are.
Frank Drebin, police squad.
Jane stares incredulously at Muriel wedged in the sunroof.
Isn't that a little unusual, Frank?
Not really. It happened to me a couple of times.
They turn, walk away, and Muriel is still confused in the background.
Okay, here's my plan.
Plan? You'll never stop, Rocco. Your chances are 1 in a million.
That's still better than any state lottery. I'm the good guy. I can't let the bad guys win. Our kids can't live in fear.
Jane brightens. Did she hear him right? Our kids?
Don't you see? If we can't stop them, they're going to blow this place sky high. It'll be a tragedy. Unless, of course, it happens during a dance number.
Exterior Shrine Auditorium entrance. Red carpet leads from the street to the entrance. Fans stand behind the barricades, cheering their favorite stars. Press, radio, TV, newsprint, and everywhere. Lots of cameras flashing, adding to the excitement. Angle on the curb, limos pulling up, couples sight. We see the racks of heads of celebrities arrive. The crowd cranes their necks, searching for their favorite star.
Tom Cruise arriving with his lovely wife, Nicole.
A smattering of applause from the crowd.
And there's Kevin Costner with his gorgeous wife, Karen.
Polite applause from the crowd. Another limo glides up. The couple gets out.
And there's Weird Al Yankovic and Vanna White.
Huge applause. Banners read, "We love you, Al," and "Vanna forever." Wave furiously, the crowd surges forward. Police have to hold them back. One woman swoons, faints, she's so overcome. Weird Al and Vanna have the adoring throne. Angle on the cab. Frank sees it parked curbside. He dashes over, sticks his head in the window.
That radio work?
Angle on the cabbie. A man from another land glances up from his falafel, gives Frank a gazed look.
Nasuka Babutnik Sekala Flomniut?
Angle on Frank. Big mistake. He runs over to another cab, thrusts his head through a window.
Call police squad. Tell them Frank Drebin says.
Angle on cabbie number 2. Another obvious immigrant.
Grizume Flato Persona.
Frank looks over at the man's cab license. Insert cabbie's driver ID. The name is Izab Farel Shoblin Dobla. Angle on Frank. Rolls his eyes. He races to a third cab parked nearby. This cabbie is swarthy, Middle Eastern looking guy with a handlebar mustache wearing a turban and what looks like a tribal ceremonial robe.
Forget it.
He leaves and the cabbie looks after him.
I wonder what the devil he wanted.
Angle on Frank and Jane. They run towards the shrine. At the shrine entrance, security stops Frank and Jane before they can enter the theater.
Hold on.
I'm Drebin of police squad.
Yeah, and I'm Robert De Niro.
Mr. De Niro, I have to get inside.
Uh-huh. You and 10,000 other people. Move along, move along. Movie stars only.
Frank eyes all the celebrities passing by.
Come on, I've got a better idea.
Flip screen 2. Angle on the bushes. 2 sets of legs, a man and a woman's, obviously bound, can be seen under the shrubs. Frank and Jane, now dressed in formal wear, tux and gown, exit the bushes. Behind them, we hear the angry garble of gagged voices. Frank turns, speaks back to the bushes as he tucks 2 passes in his jacket pocket.
I'm very sorry about this, but it's official police business.
More angry garbling.
Don't worry, we'll have these back to the rental place by 6 tomorrow.
Angrier garbling follows them as they head back towards the shrine entrance. Interior police squad, same time. Ed is half watching the Academy Award show with the other police squad members. In the background, Alfred Hitchcock's silhouette appears in the frosted glass of a door. Ed looks over at Nordberg, who's on the phone.
Thanks, Sheriff.
He hangs up and walks over to Ed.
Still no sign of Frank or Rocco and his gang?
What do, Nordberg?
Well, as I understand, there were police detectives.
Ed lets out a little groan as his head nods into his hands. When he looks up, he's staring right at the TV. He reacts to insert TV. Frank and Jane heading up the red carpet. Around them, a steady parade of female celebrities go by. Dresses get more outlandish and absurd, as do the hairdos of both men and women. A woman pauses wearing a dress made up entirely of whipped cream. The 2 elbow-length gloves complete her ensemble.
Nordberg, look! That's Frank! Academy Awards.
Resume Ed and
Gee,
Nordberg.
how'd they get tickets?
See, Nordberg, that's where Rocco Dillon is going to strike next. He's planning to blow up the Academy Awards. We have to get there.
But we weren't invited. Captain, we're cops.
Ed gives an exasperated look into the camera and picks up a phone which has not rung and hands it to Nordberg.
It's for you.
Hello?
Men, is the code red alert.
Hello? Hello?
There's not a moment to lose.
Ed grabs his fedora and he and the squatters run out of the room. Nordberg grabs a fellow officer.
Henderson, we've got to report this phone. It doesn't seem to be working.
They exit behind everyone else. Angle on the TV. And now, here's today's lucky lotto numbers. Everyone runs back into the squad room, takes out the lotto tickets, and stand hopeful in front of the TV. 22, 35, 36, 18, 33, 24, and 9. No one hit the jackpot.
Oh,
Everyone throws down their tickets and runs out. Engel and the security guard studying Frank and Jane's passes while they try to act casual.
Let's see. Vanna White and Weird Al Yankovic? Oh, okay. Enjoy the awards.
He motions them inside. Frank and Jane breathe huge sighs of relief as they head into the shrine. Inside the shrine auditorium on stage, a presenter at the podium.
This year's Lifetime Achievement Award winners' credits include some of the greatest moments ever captured on celluloid films such as Scandals and Lion Cloth, 1958, Sweaty Boatman, 1959, The Leather-Clad Centurion, 1960, and his first color feature, Big Shiny Spears, 1966.
Huge applause. Camera pans over to reveal Lifetime Achievement Award winner, a very old man slumped in a wheelchair near the podium, not moving. Angle backstage. Off screen, applause continues. Bride Porterhouse guard is guarding the sealed envelope. Tanya walks by, gives him a disarming smile. The guard doesn't even give her a second look. We hear the activities from the stage.
He also directed over 200 of her movies in his illustrious 55-year career, as well as serving as chairman for the Leather Industry Trade Association.
Paramedics rush on stage, work feverishly in an attempt to revive the old man, jolting him with electric paddles.
Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you this year's Lifetime Achievement Award winner, Mr. Samuel L. Bronwokitz. Yeah.
Big applause from the audience. The paramedics stop working on Mr. Bronkowitz, shake their heads sadly. The EKG machine winds in a flat line. Angle on Rocco and Tanya backstage. Rocco points off screen.
Okay, there's the man from Bryce Porterhouse.
Angle on Bryce Porterhouse. Just finishing setting out the sealed winner envelopes, he snaps his briefcase shut. Resume Rocco and Tanya.
All right, you know what to do. Distract him so I can get to the envelopes and plant the bomb.
Tanya gives a little smile. No problem. Angle on Bryce Porterhouse, guarding the envelope table. Tanya walks by, gives him a disarming smile. The guard doesn't even give her a second look. We hear the activities from the stage.
Accepting the award for Mr. Bronkowitz, yeah. I think is Native American Margaret Spread Eagle.
Offstage applause from the crowd. Tanya saunters by the guard again to divert his attention. She bends over in front of him and pretends to adjust her stockings. She shows off a lot of thigh. Not even a glance.
I'm sure if Mr. Bronkowitz were alive, he'd thank each and every one of you for this great award.
Off screen, the crowd applauds half-heartedly. Angle on the control booth director, motioning at monitors.
Cue music, cue stairs, cue talent.
Angle on the stage. Play the music, applause. A pair of motorized staircases slide out from either side of the wings. They join together center stage to form one massive sweeping staircase.
And now, here to present the award for Best Supporting Actress are Muriel Hemingway and Elliot Gould.
Muriel Hemingway and Elliot Gould each come down a different side of this huge set piece, making for grand entrances. Angle backstage. Tanya stands right in front of the guard. Her back to camera, she unhooks, takes off her skimpy top, shakes her shoulders enticingly. We see tassels going around. The guard remains stone-faced. Tanya's incredulous, but determined. Another tack is needed. Suddenly, something off-screen catches her eye. Angle on the crate. It's open and empty. Tanya grabs a bunch of bubble packing out of the crate and walks over to the Bryce Porterhouse guard. Thank you. Thank you. The nominee for Best Supporting Actress are... Angle on Tanya. Walks by the guard, drops the bubble packing, moves on. The Bryce Porterhouse guard remains still for a moment, then takes a quick look around to see if anyone's watching. He picks up the packing, starts to pop the bubbles. He no longer cares about his job. This guy's hooked.
Courtney Cox, Indecent Attraction, one woman's struggle for dignity set against the background of the Crimean War.
Angle on Rocco. Quickly dons gloves and goggles. He lifts one of the envelopes and with tweezers, carefully inserts a small explosive apparatus with little blinking light. That done, he replaces the envelope. In the background, the Bryce Porterhouse guard is concentrating on popping the bubble wrap, totally oblivious. A security man joins in. Mary Lou Retton, Fatal Affair. One woman's ordeal to overcome the death of her cat, set against the background of Hindenburg disaster.
Shannon Doherty, Basic Analysis. One woman's fight against sexual harassment, set against the background of the opening of Euro Disneyland.
Interior auditorium aisle. Frank and Jane enter the back of the theater, scan the packed auditorium. On a background monitor, we see Mariel Hemingway and Elliot Gould on stage. Morgan Fairchild, Final Proposal. One woman struggled to gain respect as an elevator operator in the St. Louis Arch, set against the background of the Great Floods of 1993.
And Florence Henderson, Analysis of a Proposal. One woman's triumph over a yeast infection, set against the background of the tragic Buffalo Bills season of 1991.
Big applause from the audience. Angle on the monitor, we see Best Supporting Actress nominees in the split screen boxes. In the middle of the boxes is one occupied by Florence Henderson, who smiles and looks at each box, a la the Brady Bunch. Resume Frank and Jane.
Rocco could be anywhere.
He's had plenty of time to plant the bomb. Where could it be?
On the monitor, Mariel is handed an envelope and starts to open it.
Boy, this is gonna be dynamite.
Angle on Frank and Jane. Frank pondering the bomb question.
Dynamite.
Shimmer dissolved to flashback. Angle inside the bunker. The bomb test from the cabin. A huge blast. Mushroom clouds, waving trees, bright flashes of light. Frank lowers his binoculars, which are starting to melt. Shimmer dissolved to Frank.
Jane.
Frank, are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Yes, I left my good pair of binoculars back at the cabin.
No, the bomb is in one of those envelopes.
She points to the stage.
You're right.
And the winner is... Presenter number 1 starts to pull out the winner card. Frank and Jane Wins plug their ears. No explosion. Mary Lou Retton for Fatal Affair. Angle on auditorium. Big applause. Mary Lou Retton jumps up, does a whole series of backflips down the aisle, because why wouldn't she? She's so happy. Bright music up. Angle on Shannon Doherty. A bit miffed at losing. She gives Mary Lou the finger. Angle on Frank and Jane. They look around sheepishly. People are staring at them. Jane smiles apologetically at one particular sour woman.
Sorry, we were rooting for Florence Henderson.
We've got to get to those envelopes before they open any more of them.
They race towards backstage. People look after them. Angle on Mary Lou Retton. Leaps on the stairs, cartwheels across the stage, and she lands in front of the podium. I'm speechless. I just don't know what to say. She suddenly throws her arms up in her trademark Olympic salute. The crowd applauds. Angle on backstage. The Bryce Porterhouse guard and the security man have been joined by several ushers and security people. Everyone's focused on popping bubbles. No one's paying attention to the envelopes. In background, we see Mary Lou leaving the stage with Mariel and Elliot. Jane and Frank enter, looking at the table. There are hundreds of envelopes.
I didn't realize there would be so many.
They added 75 new categories.
Frank picks up one and reads.
Best actor in a Columbus movie.
Angle on the stage. Empty, dark, several spotlights sweep across it. Music up, drum roll.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Academy proudly salutes white males in the movie industry.
Splashy music up. Resume. Frank and Jane, carefully checking each envelope. Above them, on the monitor, the musical salute continues. Stock footage.
I'm a white male. I got the world by the tail. I control the money and the grants.
About the money, yeah.
I make movies about girls with no pants.
Angle on Frank, the musical number continues, staring incredulously at an envelope in his hand. Insert envelope. It's the Publishers Clearinghouse sweepstakes envelope. Big letters read, you may have already won $10,000. Angle, wings, huge stairs set piece. Raquel Welch stands on the top landing, holds an envelope, waits for her cue. We hear the musical number end with a huge flourish. Off screen, there's a drum roll.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, to present the next award is star of stage and screen, Miss Raquel Welch, and popular talk show host, Mr. Phil Donahue.
Angle on Frank spies Raquel Welch on the staircase across the stage and sees the envelope in her hand. He turns to Jane and points to Raquel.
That might be the envelope with the bomb. You keep looking.
He runs off. Angle on the stair set piece. On Frank's side of the stage, Phil Donahue is getting the final touch-up on his makeup.
Just one more second, Mr. Donahue.
Makeup man turns away to refill his sponge with pancake. Frank suddenly runs up, knocks Phil out with a hard karate chop, tosses him aside, and takes his place. Just as Makeup man turns to give Phil's face one last dab of color. Makeup man is oblivious to the change. He motions Phil up the access stairs. The stair unit starts gliding towards the middle of the stage. Frank hurries up the access stairs, takes an incredible running leap, flies through the air, spread eagle, flailing. He hits the top landing with his hands. Whack! Hangs there precariously, legs lashing wildly as the staircase continues its inexorable journey to meet its mate. Angle on the control booth. The show's director frowns at a monitor showing Frank hanging from the landing, his feet bicycling in the air.
Oh my God, look at Donahue!
His underlings start to stare incredulously at the monitor. Angle on Raquel. She starts down her side of the stairs, making her grand entrance alone. Angle on Frank. He's struggling to pull himself up. He gets to his feet. The stair unit lurches to a stop, causing Frank to lose his balance. He goes tumbling down the staircase. Angle on Raquel. She's already at the microphone.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure to present the award for Best Director. There are...
Thunk! Frank rolls off the stairs, rear ends her, the mic goes into her mouth. She pulls her head back. The microphone comes out with a pop, but the windscreen remains lodged in her teeth. She's staggering, trying to pull the windscreen out of her mouth. Frank sees her choking, applies the Heimlich maneuver. Save her, Frank! There it goes, into the orchestra pit. It hits the conductor square in the forehead, stuns him. He waves his arms groggily. The orchestra starts to play, trying to follow his erratic baton. Exterior Rocco's getaway car. Rocco and Tanya approach the car and see Muriel's head sticking through the sunroof. They race to release her.
Ma, what happened?
Slasher is Frank Drebin of Police Squad.
Lousy two-bit copper punk. I treat him like my own brother. The one I didn't kill.
Didn't I say he was no good? I know people. Remember what I said about Conan O'Brien?
He might find the bomb.
Not if I find him first.
He pulls an ominous-looking gun. Aren't you glad I bought you that for Christmas? Rocco cocks the hammer. The three of them dash back towards the shrine. Inside the shrine on stage, Raquel is fine now. She composes herself. In the foreground, the stage manager is pointing frantically to the teleprompter. Aha! Frank understands. He starts reading his lines off the teleprompter.
Read the card, moron.
Well, Raquel, this certainly is a special evening. Ooh, I can barely catch my breath. Turn it over to Raquel.
Frank, unaware of how this thing works, continues to read, and Raquel opens her mouth, but...
I'm used to being out of breath, working out to my video day and night. Hold for laughter and applause. To Phil. Gets me out of breath just watching you. To Raquel. Oh, Phil.
Supposed to read that.
But let's get to the subject at hand. Pick up the envelope.
Raquel forces her way in.
The nominees for Best Director are Penny Marshall for her futuristic look at underwater baseball, 20,000 Leagues of Their Own.
Frank's looking behind Raquel, staring off screen. Applause from the audience. Angle on Jane, Frank's point of view. Dozens of envelopes still to search. She's trying to peek inside their sealed flaps, holding them up to the light. Resume Frank and Raquel. Frank still riveted off screen. Raquel tries to carry on the best she can.
Sir Richard Attenborough for his musical based on the life of Mother Teresa. Mother!
Audience applauds. Angle on the monitor, film clip of Mother. A balls-out musical. Mother Teresa dances around a group of poverty-stricken children carrying a hoagie sandwich. The audience applauds. Angle on Jane. She has a teapot whistling in a hot plate, steaming open the envelopes, but one by one.
Wolfgang Peterson for his thriller depicting the alternative lifestyle of a Secret Service man in the Line of Fire Island.
The audience applauds. Angle on Frank and Raquel. Raquel plows on.
Rennie Harlan for his action-adventure epic set against the backdrop of the garment industry. Coat hanger.
Audience applauds. Angle on Jane, Frank's point of view, checking the inner workings of the envelopes by holding them up to a dental X-ray light. Resume Frank and Raquel.
And Steven Spielberg for his tale of genetic gone haywire in a retirement community. Geriatric park.
The audience applauds. Angle monitor film clip of the geriatric park. People screaming, running for safety. We see they're being chased by a 20-foot-high old people. One person is crushed under a massive walker. Huge applause. Angle on Jane, motioning for Frank to stretch it. Angle on Frank and Raquel. Frank snaps out of it. There's a job to be done. Raquel begins opening an envelope.
And the winner is.
This could be the bomb. Frank can't let Raquel open it.
Just a second, Raquel.
Raquel stops and looks at him.
Now what?
I just had a thought.
Angle on the control booth director. This is just what he needs.
Ah, Christ.
Resume Frank and Raquel.
This show is being seen all over the world. I was thinking if we could all just send good thoughts, transmit them through these cameras to men like the leader of China, Wingwu Watong, so that they might finally be nice. I thank you.
Some applause. Raquel has no idea what the hell Frank is talking about.
And the winner is.
Raquel, so many go to bed hungry in this nation, and yet cat food is full of tuna. I can't help but think each time I go to the zoo and see those porpoises crammed into those tiny tanks. What a waste that is. I say butcher half of them now. That's hundreds of pounds of dolphin meat that can be fed to our cats, freeing them that tuna for our nation's hungry.
Raquel is stunned by this statement. Angle on control booth. The director is rapidly looking through the pages of the script.
The hell is he talking about?
Resume Frank and Raquel.
And the winner.
And so many are cold, shivering in the night. So I say take those cats, skin them, and use their fur to keep hundreds warm.
Angle on the audience. Jaws open. This is appalling. Angle on Frank and Raquel.
Jesus, Phil. And as I was saying, the winner.
She moves to pull out the winner card. Frank yanks the envelope away and Raquel takes it back. He takes it. She takes it. He takes it. She takes it. Angle on the audience. Heads going back and forth like they're watching a tennis match. Angle on Raquel. She has the envelope. She walks away, her back to Frank. She's about to pull out the card and Frank dives on top of her. Now there's a horrible tussle. Angle on the audience. They can't believe they're seeing this. Angle on Jane. In one of the envelopes, she finds a half piece of matzah wrapped in cloth with Hebrew writing on it. Jane gives it a look. Suddenly she jumps as Muriel sticks a gun in her bare back. Not one move.
That barrel is cold.
Oh, sorry. Muriel blows on the barrel to warm it and sticks it on Jane's back again.
That's better.
Let's go. Angle on Frank. Raquel's got him on the floor, banging his head on the ground.
What the hell happened to you? You used to be so nice.
Frank peeks into the envelope. It's not wired.
That's okay.
Raquel yanks the envelope away from him. She staggers to her feet, trips, and flips headfirst over the stair railing. Frank's still on the ground, looking off screen. Angle on the envelope table. Frank's point of view. No, Jane! Resume Frank. Worried, he jumps up, dashes off. In the background, Raquel stumbles to her feet, loses her balance, plunges into the orchestra pit. Angle on backstage. Frank searching the bubble-popping crowd for Jane.
Jane! Jane!
Angle on Al Yankovic and Vanna White, in their underwear, talking to security.
Silver hair.
About 6'2".
Kind of look like Phil Donahue.
Yeah. They suddenly see Frank, point accusingly at him. That's the guy. Security rushes Frank. Frank turns over several garbage cans, rolls them at security who go out of their way to fall over them. A can rolls over a security guy who screams as if the thing weighs 1,000 pounds. Frank races away.
Ladies and gentlemen, Pia Zadora.
Play on music kicks on. Applause from the audience. Angle and Frank, running from security, stumbles on a chorus of male dancers waiting to make their entrance on stage. They dress up in top hats and tuxes, carrying canes. Frank taps the last guy in line on the shoulder. The guy turns.
Excuse me, is that snot on your shoe?
The dancer bends to look, and Frank karate chops the guy, taking his top hat and cane as he drops. Angle on Pia flows into the stage, waving to the applauding crowd. The orchestra plays a slow introduction. Pia smiles out over the crowd.
Oh, this is such a special night for all of us. Hi, how are you? I wish every one of you could walk out here a winner, but that's not going to happen. So let's just remember what a famous man once said. Winners are just losers who won.
The band kicks into This Could Be the Start of Something Big. The dancers sidestep on stage and begin dancing, and Pia launches into song.
You're walking along the street, or you're at a party, or else you're alone, and then you suddenly did.
Frank joins the dancers, trying to blend in, doing the same voice steps that they do, bumping butts, posing.
You're looking in someone's eyes. You suddenly realize that this could be the start of something big.
Angle, huge applause sign. Above the stage, flashing on and off, the crowd is clapping. Angle on security, setting up a dragnet in the wings. Angle on Frank, trying to shuffle off the other side of the stage. More security appear there. Step ball change, Frank pirouettes away as uniformed arms reach out to grab him.
You're lunching at 21 and watching your diet, declining a Charlotte Russe, accepting a fee.
The dancers doing some arm-waving steps, coupled with intricate cane work. Frank swinging his cane around, unwittingly poking guys in the eyes, smacking them in the face, hooking them around the neck. Frank runs, slides on his knee through the tunnel of legs. His cane hits each one in the male fun zone. All the dancers are doubled over, holding their crotches. Frank thinks this is part of the routine, so he grabs his crotch too and staggers around. Exterior shrine. Ed and Nordberg screech up to their unmarked car, siren blaring. Two cop cars pull up right next to them. Cop jumps out, establish a perimeter. They're totally engrossed in being cops and don't notice that Ed and Nordberg can't get out of their car. The others have parked too close. Nordberg tries to back up. Another car skids in behind them. Now they're completely hemmed in. Ed lays his head on his hands and shakes it sadly. Once again, he's in his own private little hell. Interior shrine. On stage, Frank's still caught up in the dance number. He's tossing Pia in the air, spinning her all around his body. He slides her through his legs, accidentally lets go, and ends up with her wig tangled in his fingers. Interior control room. The horror-stricken director and his underlings stare in disbelief at the monitors, viewing the chaos on stage. Ed, wearing his fedora, bursts in with Nordberg. They flash their badges.
I'm Ed Hawken. This is Officer Nordberg from Police Squad. We're here to prevent a disaster.
The director motions to the monitors.
Are you too late for that?
He's handed a bottle of Maalox and takes a deep drink, leaves a little white ring around his lips. Angle on the monitor. Without her wig to hide it, we see Pia's hair bobby pinned in unattractive ringlets. She grabs her wig from Frank and yanks it back down on her head.
Hey, that's Frank!
They stare incredulously at the monitor. Angle and Pia adjusting her wig as she sings.
There's no controlling the unrolling of your fate, my friend.
She turns, moves quickly across the stage, gaining speed in order to take a flying leap. Angle on the dancers. Two guys have set up to catch her. Suddenly, Frank goes in doing some kind of Russian Cossack crazy leg dance. He accidentally kicks one of the guys in the stomach. The other guy bends over to help his friend just as Pia launches herself in the air. Pia flies right by her two distracted dancers. She lands face first on the stage. Flop! Angle in the control room. Everybody winces.
How does she do that without getting hurt?
Angle on the stage. The dancers from a tiller line. Pia staggers over to join them, spitting out a mouthful of floor planking. From the middle of the stage, a huge hydraulic lift starts to rise and Pia mounts it. Angle on Frank, still on the tiller line, looks off screen. Angle in the wings, Frank's point of view, security is ready to make a move to grab him. Frank leaps onto the lift with Pia and sweeps her up on his shoulder.
You suddenly hear a bell, and right away you can tell that this could be the start.
Frank's trying desperately, but can't hold Pia up anymore. He drops her. Pia plummets off the lift and out of frame. Pia crashes into the orchestra pit, lands headfirst in a tuba. Angle and security, all are watching her, horrified. They momentarily take their eyes off Frank. Frank sees his opportunity to get away. He does a spectacular leap off the back of the lift and dives onto the stage. He comes out of the perfect roll and plowing through the left of the dancers, he escapes off stage. Angle and security turn just in time to see Frank disappearing behind a curtain. They give chase. Angle on the stage, they play off music, kicks in. The battered dancers take their bows. Pia wobbles on stage, the tuba still wedged tightly down over her head. As she struggles to pull it off, we hear sounds from the tuba. Honk, scree, ugh. Angle in the auditorium. A standing ovation for Pia. What a finish! Angle inside the dressing room. Frank gives a quick look to make sure he hasn't been followed, then slams the door behind him. He turns into the room. His eyes get wide. Frank's point of view, Tanya's coming out of the restroom. Before she can react, Frank grabs her, pins her against the wall.
I knew I'd find you around here somewhere. Now I want answers, Cherry Cakes.
I love you.
Wrong answer. I dropped out of the Sap of the Month Club a long time ago. I want Jane. Now where is she? Where is she?
Zoom tight.
Thank you. Now listen, Angel Drawers, this is your last chance. I don't mean one of those Major League Baseball Steve Howe type of last chances. Now where is Jane?
I swear, I don't know.
All right, then where's the bomb?
It's in the best picture envelope.
Liar, liar, pants on fire.
No, it's true. Oh, Mr. Draven, I want to go straight. I'm tired of the lies. Oh, kiss me. Please kiss me. I've never kissed lips so innocent, so pure.
Tanya gives Frank one hell of a kiss, gently turns him around, seats him in the dressing table, her back to the camera. Tanya starts to disrobe, putting on a show for him. Frank watches her dress slide down her body, off the shoulders, down the chest, the torso, the hips. The yipes! In the background, her shadow on the wall leaves no doubt. It's crying game time. Frank gives an incredulous look at the camera and bolts out of the room. Angle on Ed and Nordberg. Being filled in on the situation by a security guard, suddenly Frank dashes by them.
That's the guy!
Frank?
Angle on the stage. Fanfare, drum roll. The staircases begin their glide towards center stage.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, here to present Best Picture are two of America's most distinguished actors, Olympia Dukakis and James Earl Jones.
Big applause. Olympia Dukakis and James Earl Jones come down the stairs, head for the podium. In the background, Frank suddenly rushes on stage and drops to his knee by the orchestra pit, sticks his head in a tuba, and up chugs big time.
Oh, ugh.
Good Lord, what was that?
It's like Phil Donahue throwing up in a tuba.
Poor Marlowe.
Orchestra continues to play on music. Bad notes from the tuba. Angle on the tuba player, having trouble now, can only get gurgling sounds out of his instrument. Gross. Angle and Frank. Nordberg comes out on stage to help him. As Frank staggers off, the audience stares at him in disbelief.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening. It's a privilege for us to present the final award for tonight's ceremony.
Angle in the wings. Nordberg leads Frank backstage. Nordberg.
Nordberg.
Damn it, Travis.
I'm Nordbergian, sorry. Frank, we've been worried about you. Where's Rocco? Where's Tanya?
Frank reacts to the mention of Tanya and looks like he's going to be sick again.
Take it easy. Sit down. Take it easy.
He sits Frank in a chair. Angle on the stage, Olympia Dukakis and James Earl Jones presenting.
The nominees for Best Picture are Basic Attraction, Unlawful Affair, Fatal Analysis, Indecent Instincts, and Sawdust and Mildew.
Interestingly enough, Olympia, every one of these movies was a box office hit except for one.
Angle on Frank. Trying to gather himself off screen, the presenters continue.
And now the moment we've all been waiting for.
What's that, Nordberg?
The Best Picture. My money's on Sawdust and Mildew.
Oh my God, that's the one.
Olympia, would you do the honors, please?
Frank struggles to his feet, groggy.
Why, thank you, James.
Frank bolts past Ed and Nordberg, dashes on stage. James Earl Jones looks on as Olympia Dukakis opens the envelope.
And the award for this year's Best Picture goes to...
Suddenly, Frank runs up.
Wait, let me open that.
He snatches the envelope out of Olympia's hand.
Sorry about this. I loved you in Coneheads. You too.
He peeks inside the envelope.
It's the bomb.
The audience applauds. Angle on the auditorium. The three producers of Sawdust and Mildew leap to their feet in exuberance. They run towards the stage, joyously kissing everyone. The orchestra kicks in with the movie's sappy romantic love theme. Angle on the control booth monitor, the graphics pop up over the joyous producers. Best picture, sawdust and mildew. Angle on the stage, Rocco and Muriel come out holding Jane at gunpoint. All goes silent. The music stops. Rocco raises his gun and fires into the air and shouts into the crowd.
Freeze and nobody gets hurt.
A technician with a headset, dummy, falls out of the rafters and crashes to the floor. The audience gasps. Rocco gives the body a look.
Well, from now on.
The happy producers about to mount the steps to receive their awards stop dead in their tracks. They watch as the technician is carried off by coworkers. Angle on James Earl Jones and Olympia Dukakis. They quietly back their way off stage unnoticed. Angle on the control booth director.
Stay with it. Camera 2, moving on the old lady.
Monitor camera pushes in. Muriel points her gun straight into the lens menacingly.
Oh, okay. Move back to.
Angle on stage. Frank's looking around for a way to dispose of the loaded envelope. Rocco waves his gun at the crowd.
I said nobody move.
Sit down! A couple people in the audience sit back down to their seats. Rocco turns the gun on Ed, Nordberg, and security.
All right, drop your guns and kick them over here. Now!
Ed, Nordberg, and security do just that. Dozens of guns, many more than we expect, slide towards Rocco. Angle on the control booth. The director turns to his staff.
We're getting a shine off of the old lady. Come on, people, help me here.
Angle on Rocco.
I believe that bomb belongs to me. Now hand it over, Drebin. You want to do the honors of killing him, Ma?
Frank sees Rocco momentarily diverted. He rushes him. They tussle. Muriel swings her gun around, covering everybody else, making sure nobody moves. Blink, and I start shooting. Angle on Frank, wrestling with Rocco's wrist. Rock easily switches gun to his other hand. Frank goes for the wrist with both hands. Again the switch. Again, the gun goes off. Angle on the applause sign. The bullet severs its brace. It falls towards the stage. Angle on Frank and Rocco. They watch the sign fall, following with their eyes. Angle on Muriel and Jane. Jane looks up, wide-eyed.
Oh my God.
She takes a step backwards. I ain't falling for that one, sister. Whoop! The huge sign lands right on Muriel's head. Jane winces. Muriel staggers around, arms failing. The signs lodged on her neck make her look like something like a hammerhead shark. Sign flashes applause, applause, applause. Angle on the audience, clapping dutifully in sync with the flashing sign. Resume Muriel. Pounds on the sign in desperation, jarring it. The sign switches to standing ovation. The audience obediently rises to its feet, clapping. Muriel takes a dive into the orchestra pit. Angle on Rocco, staring after Muriel, horror-stricken.
Ma!
He's a goner, Rocco.
Good. Then that's it. I'm coming with you, Ma! Pull out the bomb. If you don't, I'll shoot the dame.
He swings his gun around and aims at Jane.
All right, Rocco, I'll do what you say.
Frank.
Just don't harm her.
Frank starts to open the envelope, and Jane's waving to get his attention.
Frank, if you pull out the bomb, you'll kill me anyway, and everyone else in this theater.
No dice, Rocco.
Then I'm gonna plug her.
You shoot her or empty this envelope.
Sorry, I keep losing. Where are we?
Top of 137.
Damn it.
Oh, sorry. My mouse is very touchy. Frank, think about it.
It's all right. You'll be dead.
Then you'll kill yourself and everyone here.
Yes.
I'll shoot you, Drebin, if you don't do as I say.
Jane?
I'd be safe. So would everyone else, but you'd be dead.
This is getting complicated, Rocco. Let's go about this logically. Look, you're the psychotic. You should have the envelope. I should have the gun.
Frank.
I know what I'm doing.
Angle on Ed and Nordberg. Stare, gape mouth. The switch is actually made. Angle on the audience. Incredulous. Everyone slaps their forehead in unison. Oh no. Angle on the stage. Rocco grabs Jane as a shield, his arms around her, one hand inside the envelope, ready to pull out the bomb.
This is it, Drebin. Here's your best picture before a worldwide audience. This whole place is going up.
Angle on Ed.
Well, if I'm going out happy.
He tosses his hat away and bends over a nearby hostess and gives her a kiss. Angle on Frank.
Now, wait a minute, Rocco. Before we're all blown to bits, do you mind if I pull the underwear from my crack?
Rocco gives him a look.
A man's got to go out comfortable.
All right, that's it.
Frank reaches back and starts to root around, then suddenly whips his hand back up, knocks the envelope away from Rocco. It skitters under the mobile stair unit. Rocco watches it go. Frank now has the drop on Rocco.
Give it up, Rocco. You're a miniseries.
Suddenly, Rocco points off screen.
Oh, look, it's George Hamilton.
Everyone turns to look, and Rocco snatches the gun away from Frank and grabs Jane again. He puts the gun to her head.
Come and take me, Drebin.
Rocco drags Jane back towards the wings, keeping Ed and the others unarmed squatters at bay as he goes. Angle on Frank. Nordberg grabs the gun off the floor, tosses it to Frank, and Frank points to where the envelope disappeared.
Nordberg, get rid of that bomb.
He races for the wings, and Nordberg looks helplessly after the huge stair unit. Angle on the wings, Rocco hauls Jane to the fly rigging, grabs a hold of a rope.
Hold on, sweetheart.
Jane, frightened, latches onto the rope, and Rocco points his gun in the air and fires. Insert fly rigging. A large counterweight drops towards the stage. Resume Rocco and Jane. They shoot up in the air on the rope and land on a catwalk. Rocco pushes Jane along the wooden treads.
Move it, sister. I don't want you hitting anything between here and the floor.
Angle on the wings, Frank enters, looks up into the rafters, and Ed approaches.
Frank.
Don't worry, Ed. I know what I'm doing.
He steps inside a coil of rope and grabs the lead strand, points the pistol in the air. He's going to try the same trick Rocco pulled. Ed sees his precarious foot position.
Frank.
Too late. Frank fires. Bad move. Frank suddenly thrown onto his back, the ropes coiled around his ankle. He rockets to the rafters, whistling like a mortar shell. Angle on the catwalk. Jane's at the railing. Rocco clears a coil of water away with his foot. He gets behind her, holding the gun to her head. He hollers down on the stage where he thinks Frank still is.
All right, copper. You killed my ma. I'm taking the dame away from you.
Suddenly, Frank drops into frame behind him, upside down, dangling from the rope. Neither Rocco nor Jane notice, and Frank flops around, struggling to extricate himself from his tether.
You hear me, copper? One push and Mrs. Drebin here becomes linoleum.
In the background, Frank's swinging wildly, desperately trying to grab a hold of anything that'll stop him. It's Cirque du Soleil time, body at a 90-degree angle, trying to unwrap the rope from around his ankle.
Any last words, sweetheart, before I throw you off this catwalk?
Yes. Don't do it.
Anything else?
Hi, Starbuck. Jane shuts down at the stage far below.
Frank, I love you. Yes, I want the world to know that you are the perfect man.
Behind her, Frank's still hanging by his ankle from the rope. He looks down. The people are pin spots on the stage below. Angle on the control room director, watching the monitor, a long shot of Jane, Rocco, and Frank.
Frank, I hope you can hear me.
Oh, the commercials. We're sticking with this. Get a camera up there. I don't care how. It's gonna be my best work.
He smiles at the monitor.
Couldn't do drama.
Angle on the catwalk. Guys with cameras, lights, and microphones are climbing around trying to get position. Jane's still pouring her heart out.
Oh, I just got bit. Frank, I was wrong. Taking you away from police squad was a mistake. I know now that's why you couldn't perform decent sex with me.
Angle on Frank, hanging by his teeth from the rope in an impossible position. He rolls his eyes and wishes the whole world wasn't hearing this. Angle on Nordberg, just pulling on the huge, thick gloves that are part of the bomb disposal suit he's now wearing. It makes him look a little like the Michelin Man. He and Ed exchange looks. This is news to them. Angle on Jane and Rocco.
Yes, I realize that now, Frank, and a lot of other things, like the big three automakers conspiring to kill the electric cars and subvert the California clean air law.
Rocco lays the gun a little closer to Jane's ear.
What's that, Rocco?
Say your goodbyes, sweetheart, and hurry it up. I'm parked in a handicapped space now. Come on.
Jane ignores him, continues her pledge to Frank, who's now swinging his arms in the background, twirling, twirling, twirling.
Yes, Frank, I want you to go back to police squad. I learned my lesson. And even though it may be too late for me, I want all the ladies out there to remember something. Don't ever take your man for granted, because good men don't just fall out of the sky.
Yeah!
Jane and Rocco look up. Frank has let go of the rope and is plummeting straight down at them. Angle on Rocco, Frank lands right on him. Flump! Rocco staggers backward, trips over the coil of wire, loses his balance. Frank grabs for him, misses. Rocco plunges over the railing. Rocco's falling towards the stage, flailing wildly. We see the electrical cord is looped around his foot. Angle on the stage. Ed looks up. Everyone on stage looks up. Everyone except Nordberg. He's busy retrieving the bomb envelope with a large pair of tongs. He yells at the auditorium audience.
Nobody move. Any vibrations could set this off.
He makes his way toward a bomb disposal receptacle, the bulky suit making it a slow process. Around him, people staring in abject horror as Rocco plunges straight towards the stage, begin to panic scatter, screaming. Nordberg misunderstands their fear, thinking they're worried about the bomb.
It's all right. Everything's under control. I'm not going to drop it.
Angle on Rocco, whizzing towards the floor, groping for anything to break his fall. Angle on Frank, the coil of the cable attached to Rocco is whipping by him. He stomps his heel down hard on it. Angle on Rocco. The cord reaches its apex, stretched to its full length right above Nordberg. Rocco reaches out, desperately tries to grab a hold of Nordberg, accidentally grabs the bomb out of the tongs. Just then, the elasticity of the cord kicks in, and like a bungee jumper, Rocco springs back upward, jetting into the rafters with a shriek. He crashes through the roof of the shrine. Exterior shrine night. Above the huge sign that reads 66th Annual Academy Awards. The bomb explodes in the night sky. Fireworks over the shrine. Angle on the older couple. Passing on the street below, we see the pyrotechnic display and they shake their heads.
Ha, Hollywood.
The older woman snorts in agreement. Interior shrine catwalk. Jane throws her arms around Frank and they kiss big time. Angle on the auditorium. Big applause from everyone in the theater. Frank and Jane slide down the last few feet to stage on a rope. She hangs onto his neck, showering him with kisses. Frank's hair blowing in the breeze, the perfect hero. They touch down. Nordberg, crew, celebrities, cops, and all around. Frank and Jane don't notice. They're too busy staring lovingly into each other's eyes.
Jane, I never want us to be apart again.
Frank puts her ring back on her finger.
Oh, Frank, you like me. You really like me.
Another big kiss. Angle on the audience. It cuts to our celebrities. Not a dry eye in the house. Everyone applauds. Conspicuously in the middle of the audience is Waldo, wearing a striped sweater, holding a little wiener dog. Angle backstage. Ed's wrapping up loose ends, looking for his hat. A uniformed officer leads Tanya over. Tanya's dressed in a short kimono, holding Ed's fedora over her crotch. She gives Ed the big eyes.
What do I do with this one?
Booker.
The officer pulls Tanya's hands behind her, slaps on the cuff. Ed looks, his hat still hanging on Tanya's crotch. We realize now something else is holding it up. The officer starts to lead Tanya away, and Ed calls after them.
Keep the hat.
Angle on Frank and Jane. Finally break. Ed joins them, and along with Nordberg, all wave to the audience. Music swells. Dissolve to interior hospital maternity ward corridor. Frank and Nordberg burst through the door wearing hospital greens. They barrel down the hallway. Inside the delivery room, a pair of women's feet in the stirrups, a doctor between the knees.
Push, bear down now and push.
The door suddenly flies open. Frank and Nordberg slam into the room, and Frank has a camcorder to his eye.
Jane, I made it. Frank's here now.
Frank's point of view through the camcorder. A sheet hung for modesty's sake cloaks the identity of the woman on the bed. There's a loud wail, another contraction racks through her. Resume Frank. He moves in closer to the doctor.
Breathe, honey. Breathe, Jane.
Frank's point of view through the camcorder, the doctor. Screams of pain over.
He's almost out. I can see the head.
You hear that, Jane? It's a boy.
One more push. That's it. I have him.
A slap. A baby cries out. The doctor hoists an infant into view. The child is obviously African American. Angle on Frank's surprised. He pulls up the camcorder away from his face and can't believe his eyes. He turns to Nordberg, stunned. Does a double take. His eyes narrow.
Nordberg!
Nordberg picks up his hands.
No, Frank, I never. Yo!
Frank has pulled out his gun, and Nordberg bolts for the door. He rushes into the hall. In the hallway, Frank, brandishing the gun, exits the room in hot pursuit of Nordberg. He passes to another room, and Ed comes out, pushing Jane in a wheelchair. Jane tenderly cradles Frank's real son. Ed calls after Frank.
Hey, Frank, it's a boy.
Angle on Frank. He's angry beyond reason.
I know.
Continues his pursuit of Nordberg, firing his gun wildly. Naked Gun theme kicks in strong in the end titles.
Okay.
All right. Thank you,
Thank
everyone,
you.
for joining us with this nonsense. And have a good night.